We'll go ahead and call meeting to order. Shelley, can do roll call, please?
Mr. Mayor. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Latham.
Present.
District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Gameros.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Shelley. Fernando, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Dear Lord, thank you that we can be here today to help make decisions for our community. Please bless all those people that work hard to make our community a better place. Help us to keep those people in need and who are struggling with their health issues or other issues, and help us to support them the best that we can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And Freddie, can lead us in the pledge?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with summary of current events, and Mariano, we'll start with you.
Today I had a luncheon with former colleagues. They're all retired from the Arizona Division of Emergency Management. And there were 5 of us there, and to the man, they all agreed that the response made by the region of southern Gila County related to the fire and floods, as well as the town of Superior, they were very, very pleased with the local government response. They know what it takes for local government to work together in times of crisis. And for 2 months, my colleagues watched that, and I'm carrying back their high compliments, Mr. Mayor, especially the leadership that you showed. So it was nice to hear that from former colleagues who worked at the division for many, many years. That's all.
Thank you, Mayor. Fernando?
Just a couple things. I got to go down to the Angel Wings car show. I was really impressed with the turnout. There was a lot of people out. It looked like they're all having fun, so that was a great event. The other thing is Old Dominion Days was this week, and those people that volunteer at that museum are amazing, and they did a really nice job, and they hosted a breakfast for the first responders and veterans. It was free, so that was really nice too. So it turned out really nice, and I just wanted to thank them for what they do for our community. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Freddie?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Leagues and Cities event. It's a 3-day conference along with most of my other colleagues here. This is a great event for all elected officials to be able to mingle, talk to other colleagues from other cities, big and small, discuss issues and concerns that they're going with, and gaining insight on how that could help us in our communities. And I just hope that we all brought something from that we can nurture and bring to light here in our community to continue to help us grow. So great event. I just can't say enough about the elected officials that are there, that participate, and all the work that they do within their cities and towns. So it's a great event. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to also mention about the Wings of Hope car show that was held in town this weekend. It's one of the really nicest events I've seen the city put on in quite a long time. The participation from the out-of-town participants was truly amazing. The vehicles were amazing. The crowd was huge. The entertainment was great. It was just a really, really good program. And, John and Monica did put a lot of work into that effort. And they did mention that they're going to hopefully have it in April next year when it's a little bit cooler. But they did want to put this one on, and they were willing to deal with the heat. And they had about 100 entrants, I believe. So that's pretty good. I know it was a little tough on some of the businesses in town, but it was really, the participation was really, really amazing. I was real pleased with that. And ditto what Councilman Rios said about the legislative cities and towns conference. There was a lot of good information. I just got the silver belt this evening, and I saw where the Brownfield grant had been awarded to the county for $600,000. And that was one of the points of discussion in one of the sessions down there that really interests me, because that's a pretty good way to finance or get grants for some of your projects, especially in our small rural communities that are dealing with renovation. So, it was worthwhile, and that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Jesse?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Actually, Mayor, wow. Yeah, I know. I don't want to bore everybody with my problems.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I want to announce, and I think it's out there already, I'm gonna have my first State of the City address. That'll be on September 30th. It'll be on a Thursday evening. It's gonna be out here in Veterans Park. We'll have food trucks. We'll have some music also. So we want to make it a big event. It'll give an opportunity to speak to the community and, you know, talk a little bit of all our wins in the city and where we're heading in the future. So this is the first time that I've done it. I don't know if they've ever done it in the past, a State of the City address. So I think it's important that we share that information to the public. Again, that's September 30th, starts at 5:30. The address will start at 6 p.m. and I think it ends at 9 that night. League of Cities, yeah, it was great to be able to talk to different council members and mayors throughout the city or throughout the state and see how they're doing things and how everything has affected them. So it was a good learning experience, and you're right, Freddie. I think hopefully, Mike, we can all come together and bring some of our notes back and share those so we can act on some of the things that maybe they're doing also. We've been in contact this past week with the Senator Cali, Senator Sinema, Congressman O'Halloran. Again, they want a summary, and also the Speaker of the House, Boyer. They want a summary of what we went through the fires and through the floods. So we're getting a summary ready for them, and they want a summary for the town hall that we had also. So we're continuing to solicit money for the future because we're going to need it, because flooding's going to be with us for the next 5 years at least, until we can get some growth on the mountain to slow the water down. So we're going to need the funds to help us to mitigate that. And they're on board with us, so we're going to keep pushing them. We're going to have First Friday is going to be October 1st, and we're going to start that evening, the first time ever in a long time. I remember doing it in the 70s, cruise downtown Globe. So we're encouraging young and old. You got your old car, the older generation or the younger. We'd like to get you out there and cruise, start the cruise, maybe tradition again on the first Friday. So I'll lead the first lap, and then we'll go from there and see how it goes. So that's all I had. Thank you.
And PD's in the room, just FYI. Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple quick things. The Wings of Hope car show worked out really well. City staff excited, all the new events. As we transition out of COVID, we're doing much better in our communication when we have street closures. I think we did drop the ball on confirming the Hollis Theater was notified, and my apologies to them. We do have a responsibility to specifically notify them, and I acknowledge that, and just let you know we will meet with them and do better. So, but we really can have a discussion about it.
Are you done?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, because we.
Go ahead. No, I'm waiting for you to finish.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I got a couple more.
Knock yourself out.
Okay, so I just the closure for Pinell Creek Bridge. It's hard on us, but when it's over, and hopefully they'll, they always put a lot of time. Hopefully they'll get done a little sooner, but we're hoping for Friday everything be wrapped up, and that's gonna be a great addition to the safety and flow of traffic. So we're really excited about that. Kudos to ADOT for everything we've done there, and we will be having the ADOT Transportation Board meeting here in December, I think, this year too. So we'll have more about that in the future. Again, great to see everyone at Arizona League of Cities event. Over 1,000 people, many elected officials, a chance for our council to understand and talk with people who have the same situations of your role as community leaders and elected officials, and making those decisions in this time of pandemic. And it was good. Everybody got out and communicated. It's good to see everybody back out and having that activity, and we got a lot accomplished there. And then tonight we're rolling out Citizens Academy, where anybody who wants to learn more about government, we're going to have six classes over 6 classes, 2 hours long, over 6 weeks, where you can learn about city government. We'll have more about that, but that applications will be accepted by Shelley, who's point on that, starting immediately. If you're interested, let us know. And the first class starts October 13th. We'll have a lot more of that at the end of when we come up on the agenda on that. So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mike, do you have some?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, one thing I forgot to mention earlier was I want to apologize to the library committee and the Friends of the Library. They had a meeting yesterday that just did not register with me, and I apologize for not being there. I did call Rael later, and we talked a little bit, but I'm sorry I missed it. I should have been there.
I do have one more announcement that I just received. Kevin Jones from Arizona Eastern Railroad called me earlier today, and I just received an email from Media Point, Tom Ciuba. So I'll just read it. Around 11:15 this morning, an Arizona Eastern Railroad train traveling near Globe derailed 11 rail cars carrying copper concentrate. There are no injuries, no crossings are blocked. The safety of cleanup crews who are on the scene is our first priority. Cleanup is expected to take up to 3 days. The cause of the incident is currently under investigation, and I think our fire department responded to that derailment also. It's more on the east side by the overpass going towards San Carlos,
Right.
in that area.
Has no impact on traffic or safety. We're monitoring it, and it's unfortunate, but as like I say, everything's under control, and there's no real major detriment other than you have 11 cars off the tracks.
We'll go to our first community call to the public, and this is a time anyone willing to speak may do so by filling out a card. You have 3 minutes for your comments. Council cannot respond to you, but you fill out a card if you wish to and hand it in to Shelley. This is also time if you want to speak during an agenda item, and at that point, we can respond to you. So just turn those into Shelley if you wish to speak during an agenda item. Do you have any community calls? Okay. We do have agenda ones, but not community. So we'll go to special presentation and ceremonial matters. And first on the agenda is Friends of the Library will present their COVID response outdoor space project for the Globe Library to Council. And we have Mary Testa and Robin Wurst.
Need to do anything to get the
Is that green light on the mic? The base?
green
Oh,
lights on?
yes.
Yes, then you're good to go.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. I would like to introduce Robin Worse, who is the president of Friends of the Library. And I'm Mary Testa, and I am a member of the Friends. I want to give you a little history of how we got here. One of the Friends committees, can you hear me? Okay. One of the Friends committees met to discuss possible future improvement projects for the library. One of those projects was to improve the outdoor meeting space. When the committee made a report to the Friends, the idea was embraced by the membership. Although the library staff met the challenges of continuing to serve the community during the pandemic, forwards keeping the library open. It has been a hard time struggling through this COVID virus pandemic. While the pandemic continues, the library needs to be available to the community. The Friends feel the best way to do that is to extend to the outside. We were already doing programs outside with the children in a very small area. You have to give it to the staff. They have 25, 30 kids in that small little area. I don't know about you, but I would not like to be in that position, but they do a great job. While the pandemic continues, the library needs to be available to the community. The Friends feel the best way to do that is to extend outside. We were already, I'm sorry, I repeated myself. Okay, so we have a small area that they have done programs with children. That very small area needs to be expanded, and a seating area needs to be developed. With an outdoor area, the library would be under less restrictions that the COVID virus presents, and the library staff could service people of all ages. This is a slide of the outside space during the pandemic. Now we have a slide on the rendering that was done by Rachel Hansen from the Tally Ho Engineering Design here in Globe. I want to point out some of our ideas. We need a safe flooring because the flooring inside the fence is so old. It's got holes in it and there's little rocks and what have you in there. So we need safe flooring. We need planting for shade and city beautification, expanding the square feet towards Broad Street, and completion of the mural on the outside wall of the building. Now, I think you all have a copy of the contractor's estimation. Okay. It will include removal of the old fence flooring, pouring a new floor surface, curbing to create a planter which will be 70 feet by 2 feet, moving and expanding of the chain link fence, and support for shade sails. The total for that cement work and the chain link fence will run $37,044.50. Now, please notice in the corner on the bottom there that the page estimate is for one big piece of cement that would be 80 feet by 24 feet. But if we wanted to make it like the rendering where it was 6 foot squares by 6 foot squares, then that would be an addition of $5,200. And that does not include the turf or the cobblestones to fill in between the spaces. Okay, slide 5. Other estimates that we have gathered are for shade, cooling, irrigation for the planter, supplies for the planter, improvement to the seating that we do have now, and soft lighting. Total for these items will be $9,754.50. Okay, let's talk about funding. One way that we fund for this project will come from the individual members in our area who are very generous with resources and time. Another way is the community support that the Friends of the Library get with their fundraisers. They've always been great successes. But it is searching and securing grants that is what we need assistance with. Because of COVID, we really need to improve the outdoor space, expanding the library access to the public. The timing seems perfect for working with the city's Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. Now, if there are any questions, Robin or I will answer them.
Questions or comments? Go ahead, Fernando.
I have one question. I know that the electric car discussion that we were having is going to utilize part of that. Was that coordinated with the idea of pushing the fence out? Was that already calculated into the parking spaces?
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Shipley, let me interrupt. We just got word this week that they are looking at some alternative sites rather than the library.
Oh, okay.
And so I thought that was going to be an issue with this in this discussion, but I believe now that they're still going to put those stations in Globe, but I do not believe it'll be the library site. I'm not even sure that it's going to be a city site or a downtown site, but it will be somewhere along the 60, is my understanding.
Okay.
And the expansion that we were talking about is to move towards Broad.
Broad Street.
Oh, okay.
The fence ends, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet shy of the end of a building, so we just want to bring the fence out to be even with the building. And then we want the planter on the outside of the current fence, so that is another 2 feet toward the parking lot. But we didn't want to put the planter inside and lose square footage inside the fence area.
Thank you.
Question.
Mike, go ahead.
So the fence is actually going to stay in the same place other than expanding it on the front end? And that, you mentioned that the cement pad was 80 by 24?
No, that's the whole,
Yeah.
That would be the area within the fence, right? Okay,
okay.
Yeah.
all right. Just wanted to make sure. So, and you mentioned, and it mentions that it's either going to be one full pad or separate blocks with cobblestone or something in between.
Yeah.
You haven't made that decision yet.
No.
Okay, now,
It's going to depend on what we can afford.
okay. And then I know, and this news about the charging station kind of just happened all of a sudden. But I know there was plans for the group to look at developing an amphitheater in the same area at some point. That's not part of this project?
I think that rendering or that idea may have come from Rachel Hansen. I'm not sure where that came from.
Oh,
But
okay.
the friends have not
Okay.
talked about that.
And so you mentioned that the funding would be members and community fundraisers and then assistance with grant searching. Are you requesting that the city do the grant searches or give you access to some of the sites that the city uses, or working with, I don't know, would that be with Linda's group? Where's Linda? She not
Probably
here?
be through the library staff,
Okay, all right,
and they've been successful before with grants, and
Okay.
it's not outside of their realm.
okay,
So
All
I
right.
guess, yeah, whatever.
okay.
Yeah. So
So right now, at this point, you're not really asking the city for any money yet? Okay, all right. That's interesting. Yeah, why not? I mean, we need to find out about the funding. So, okay, I mean, sounds like a good idea. I was kind of excited about the charging station going in, but I know that both groups were really actively looking at doing some renovation down there at the library on that side, which could stand to be cleaned up a little bit and look a little nicer. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And we had planned originally to add the electric vehicles. And we just found out, so we took that.
Yeah, so you got a little bit more room now.
Go ahead, Brannan.
Now, there's an awning on the back of the building already, right? A small one? And that's going to be removed, I take it?
The plan, a lot of things could change,
Okay.
but the plan right now is to put new shade sails and expand the area that's shaded. There's also a misting system that would have to be. But we've also, other ideas have popped up since we started all this, and the idea of a pergola came up as shade, and then we saw pictures of pergolas with solar panels on top. So, I mean, nothing is written in stone at this point.
Okay.
We're just kind of.
Any questions?
I think it's a good idea.
I like the idea. I mean, I think that's what the future is. Talking to different mayors and council at the League of Cities, a lot of them are gearing their projects where they're outdoors more because of COVID. I mean, it's not going to go away. It's here, and that's our future. So a lot of them were talking about investing money into outdoor spaces, just like you're talking about throughout their cities also. So I've seen the initial rendering that included the teepee and everything. It'd be nice if we got a full picture of that one with your rendering and that one too, because that would clean up that teepee also and put some more, I think, some flower beds and things and some more artwork or paintings on there also. So I don't know who has the initial one. I think it was Rachel, the same one that did the other one, so.
We just didn't.
One more
Great.
question.
Go ahead, Mike.
So, Paul, let me ask you, with this being development based on the need for COVID protection for the public and everything, is there federal monies that they could probably apply for some sort of funding for that or not?
I would have to look if there's outstanding federal money that is still available for that. As a nonprofit, I'd have to check into if they could directly apply for their own money.
Okay.
But we can have, I believe that we'll have a conversation about federal money in the future, and we can always bring this back up and see where we're at on that. And Mr. Mayor, members of council, I just want to compliment the library and the Friends for, they're doing all the right things. They have a vision, they have a rendering that shows what it looks like, they got costs, and now they're seeking funding and going out, and they're doing, not a firm design, so they have flexibility, and they're doing all the right things to make this happen. And we appreciate your hard work to benefit the city and benefit our library. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Thank you.
Next, we have consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk. Prior to consideration of the consent calendar, the mayor will ask whether any member of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and/or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. A, consideration of waiver of section 2-4-10A prior discussion rule to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. 1, accounts payable, $1,086,494.03. Consideration of approval of council minutes, October 21, 2020 meeting minutes, November 24th, 2020 meeting minutes. B, consideration of agreements of purchases less than $25,000. C, consideration to appoint Doug Brannan to the Historic Preservation Advisory Commission. D, consideration to approve the fiscal year 2020-2021 second, third, and fourth quarter distribution of bed tax funds in the amount of $29,695.32 to the Globe Downtown Association from account number 10-51-51915, General Fund Community Organizations, Globe Downtown Association. Item E, consideration and possible approval, amendment number 2 to contract number PS-2019-0018 for on-call civil engineering support services with Richard Powers Consulting PLLC to extend the contract term for one additional year in an amount not to exceed $58,000 to be funded out of accounts number 10-61-51234 Public Works Contractual Services and number 21-80-52201 Upper Pinal Creek Bridge with possible WIFA reimbursement and/or grant reimbursement. Item F, consideration and possible approval of amendment number 2 to contract number PS-2019-0047 for on-call civil engineering support services with Tally-Ho Engineering and Consulting to extend the contract term for 1 year, for one additional year in an amount not to exceed $58,000 to be funded out of account number 10-61-51234 Public Works Contractual Services and number 50-80-51234 Water Contractual Services and number 51-80-5123 Wastewater Contractual Services with possible WIFA reimbursement and/or grant reimbursement. Do we have anybody from the public, the staff, or the council that would like to remove any of these items for separate vote?
Mr. Mayor,
Mike?
I would like to pull item 4D for discussion.
Or D?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mayor, through you, I'd like to pull A1 and 4D as well.
So accounts payable and then 4D.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda minus A1 and 4D.
Second.
We have motion and a second for approval of consent. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. So we'll go back to A1, accounts payable. Mike, or,
Like for Paul to explain to the group why it's so high,
So,
the 1,086,494.
Mr. Mayor, members of council,
Understand why.
yeah, we are making, as part of this payment and as part of our strategy to maintain costs on PSPRS, we are making one half of our police PSPRS payment and one half of our fire PSPRS payment. One of those is $222,339. The other one's $213,620. And so you have nearly a $450,000 there that we pay ahead and helps. And I see Jeannie has popped up on the screen. Jeannie, is there any other large sums in there? That's a big chunk.
Well, I do want to point out that 400,000 that's being paid is 6 months worth of the 0.3% sales tax that we collect for the PSPRS unfunded liability. So that's just passing that through. And then I don't know, I thought, aren't the other big
Interrupt a
things?
little bit, please.
Sure.
Here,
Just a minute,
We're
Jeannie.
going to turn up your volume here. Hang on a
we're
second.
having a hard time hearing you.
Oh,
And Jeannie, sound check. How you?
can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Now
can hear
we
you
can.
now. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. So the 400,000 that we're paying to PSPRS represents 6 months worth of the 0.3% sales tax that we collect for the unfunded PSPRS liability. So I'm just paying that off. We've collected that money, and I'm paying that on to the unfunded liability. And then looking at the AP report, we have 151,000 just in Blue Cross Blue Shield. So there's going to be the insurance coming through on this AP run. And
And
we
Jeannie,
had
the
the,
151,000 just for Blue Cross Blue Shield, that represents 1 month?
it does, it's September only billing. Yeah, it's expensive.
Jeannie, on some of these, we have some reimbursement, don't we, from the DEMA, from grant, from the funding? That we paid in it?
I don't know if there's any on this report. Well, there is. There's the $20,000 for the emergency bridge repair over by the hospital. But all of the other DEMA things have already come through, I believe, that I have to date.
Yep, I'm good. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion to approve item A1, accounts payable, in the amount of $1,086,494.03?
Motion made, Mayor.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval of accounts payable. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Motion passed. Item D, and this goes to the second, third, and fourth quarter distribution to the Globe Downtown. Mike?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the question I have is I know that the bed tax people, the agreements were that they were supposed to give, request their funding and give their reports on a quarterly basis. And today we're approving 3 quarters. I'm just wondering, is it that they don't need the money until they collect a certain amount, or what's going on?
And I'm
addressing that to you, Mr. Manager.
right, and I don't have an answer for that right at this moment when this came up. I wanted to check with Councilman Gonzalez if you had attended the meeting. Did you have any background on why the late applications?
No, I did not. I
Okay.
had paperwork, but not any discussion about it, so.
Right, and the requirements are not so much, the requirements are to have the information when you request the money. The requirement is the request for the money within 60 days of the end of the quarter. And so, the quarters that we're paying now are October, November, Q2, October, November of 2020, January, February, March of 2021, and then April, May, June of 2021. Jeannie, did you have any background on the timing of the payments?
I was just looking through my emails, and Tommy dropped the request off at City Hall on August 19th. And Jonelle did email me to let me know they were there. And she said we are starting to meet again on a regular monthly basis, so things should be easier. So possibly they were affected by COVID and weren't meeting regularly. I don't know.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, a couple options here. You have the option to approve or not approve, obviously, but you also, we do have on the horizon a meeting with all bed tax organizations. We could address it there, or we could table and ask a representative from downtown to come and speak to this, whichever council's pleasure.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, Martin.
At that meeting, they did mention, due to COVID-19, they were having trouble keeping their schedule for meetings, and that they were trying to get to a better place as far as holding regular meetings.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, the application does require board approval to make the application. So just speculating, if they're not meeting, it'd be hard to get. If they're not meeting in live, I don't know if they have a ability to do a Zoom meeting or not. So that might be, it could be, but I'd hate to speculate any further.
And go ahead, Freddie.
So my question to this is, because of the lag in time, how does this affect the fiscal budget?
Jeannie?
Good question, Freddie, or Councilman Rios. If they were applying now for bed taxes that they did not apply for in fiscal year in 2020, that money's gone. And that we haven't completed the 2021 audit yet, so those funds are still available, and we're just passing through per council's desires when the budget went into place, passing through the bed tax money. So it's unfortunate that they applied for 3/4 all at one time, but the funds are available. That budget year hasn't been closed out.
So am I to understand that it was closed out, or it wasn't closed out, that the funds are not available in the
Because-
21?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilor Rios, because of the audit cycle, we still have access to those funds, and so we can still make those payments and not upset a prior audit, because the audit is still in progress. And so, bottom line, we do have the ability legally to make those payments.
Okay, well, I would just recommend when we do meet with them that they know these kinds of things, because I don't think it's good business practice for us to pay funds when the funds aren't there, especially when we get audited. We don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, we wouldn't do that, no.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make, we're going to have the bed tax people, all the bed tax
Yes.
people in. That would be a good time to have a discussion with them and let them, for them to realize that, the requests are supposed to be made on a quarterly basis. So it makes Jeannie's job a little bit easier. It gives us as stewards of the taxpayers' money, knowledge to know how the money's being utilized, instead of when you get 3/4 at one time and you dish it out.
Right, and like I say, there is COVID, was an issue. You kept thinking it was going to end, and it kept going on, and so it's not without there's some extenuating
Yeah,
circumstances.
no, I just think that they need to be aware that there are those certain requirements, and, granted, COVID has been around for a couple of years and we've been dealing with that, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get it under control if people would do this more often, but that's their choice, or go get stuck, but that's up to them.
And Mr. Mayor, that meeting was my first meeting, but I'll continue in the future to monitor progress like that. And Paul, if you include me on that kind of a meeting, so that we can bear witness to, yes, they were told as a group, these deliverables are necessary.
And that's a comment I had, I appreciate Councilman Gonzalez taking on this, as a liaison, the city liaison to this downtown association. So learning more about it, and helping them expedite the requests a little quicker. So we're in compliance.
Right.
So I appreciate that.
Got it? Okay.
Mayor, I would move to approve the funding for bed tax.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second for approval of bed tax for the Globe Town Association. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed.
Mayor, members of council, thank you.
Thank you. We have, next we have new business. In item 5A is Mayor and Council will hear an appeal by Thea Realshire of the decision by the City of Globe Special Event Committee to deny the iArt Globe project referred to as Alley Cat Alley based on the Globe City Code Section 8-387 appeal, and council may vote to confirm or reverse the denial of the Alley Cat Alley special event permit and request to waive Section 2-4-10 prior discussion rule.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'd like to give a little bit of context to this for people who are unfamiliar. The City of Globe has a special event group committee as per City Code 8.3, and it's an administrative process. If you're doing a special event in the City of Globe and you need something from the city, whether you need property, you need barricades closing the streets, police, or a liquor permit or anything like that. And so we have this process where we meet internally and visit and evaluate the request. In this request, we had met at one point, had concerns, talked about those concerns. There were adjustments made on some of the concerns, but overall, when we met a second time, the staff committee voted to, or decided to deny the permit. As per code, when we deny, we need to notify the applicant and the council of the denial and let the applicant know they have 5 days for which to request an appeal. Tonight is that appeal. We had another meeting, but we had things stacked up, and so council tabled this, and that's why it's a little bit down 2 weeks down the pipeline on that. But tonight the structure would be for council to hear the description of the project by the applicant. Then I'd like to allow members of staff of the committee to come up and their concerns. And then the applicant can address those concerns, and then council, you can have your questions and discussions. We can hear all the facts and opinions and then make that decision. So with that outline of the process, I will turn it over to Thea to explain Alley Cat Alley.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for this privilege. This is a new thing for me, and I think probably for you, so I'm giving our best shot here. This idea is an idea that was actually first brought about by COVID and the need to have more public space that we can meet out of doors. But it's also been brought about because this is being successfully done in a lot of communities, and they're having tremendous response in a positive way to it. We know that it's successful. In fact, it's so successful that there are a number of communities in America that have created handbooks and manuals urging citizens and service groups and businesses to activate alleys. And activating an alley is taking a space that's kind of derelict or ignored or disused, and it is livening it with light, with seating, with amenities with things that will encourage the public to embrace the space. So that is where this idea came from. I think that the movement towards alley activation, which we're starting to see, it's almost a snowballing. I think it's been impacted by Complete Streets, which is a movement for the last couple decades that's looking at streets and alleyways and saying, hey, these were designed for people, and somehow now the focus is on the rights of the car. And so it's a movement to say, wait a minute, streets and alleys belong to people. People who walk, who ride bikes, who do transit, and who drive cars. So out of that, we're actually seeing some amazing things internationally. There are major thoroughfares, particularly during COVID, that have been shut to vehicular traffic completely. They've been made into pedestrian plazas, and the response has been positive by the citizens and with some kickback from some of the businesses. What I'm seeing more of in America is a little bit smaller scale. It's taking things like this. This picture was an island that was just cement and a turn lane, and they took it and transformed it into a parklet that encourages people locally to be in their space. So in thinking about this, and one day being frustrated that I couldn't, the trash guys wouldn't go through my alley to pick up my trash cans. And as I was rolling out my cans, I thought, stop it. It's not about you. There's other places in town that can't get their trash picked up. And I thought about this alley. This alley is too narrow. The trash trucks won't go down it. There's wires that hang too low and gas meters that poke out. So many ways, this has been an abandoned space. It's been a space that has become not just disused, but kind of inaccessible to the public. It's a place of weeds and trash and some human behavior that's not positive. So let's take that space and transform it. We need public outdoor spaces. That's what this proposal is. This proposal is not to be scary and say, okay, we're going to do this forever. Let's do a 3-month trial of activating this alley, making this an accessible and interesting space, and then let's reassess. But in the meantime, if something doesn't work, if there's safety concern, no problem. We can remove that during that 3-month trial. We have flexibility in this, but let's try it. I turned in, there's multiple project partners in this. This proposal is coming through iArt Globe, the 12 public art projects in 12 months. Our fiscal sponsor is the Cobra Valley Center for the Arts. So they are a supporter of this, and we're under them. But I've shared this idea with a number of different businesses and citizens and corporations. BHP has awarded $20,000 to iArt Globe for public art projects. Some of that money would be used for this project, to purchase the solar lights, to purchase the trash can corrals. But also Freeport has really liked this idea, and they have stepped up and said, hey, we haven't had a volunteer project with COVID. We're ready to go. This is an outdoor project. We would like to do this, and with our volunteer dollars, we can even buy some of the paint. So they would come and paint the buildings and the ground. The local businesses that are impacted by this, most are supportive. Some have questions. We have a business building owner who's supportive, but the person renting is not sure. We had another business owner who wasn't sure about having the back of their building blocked, and so we shortened the project so that it doesn't impact that side of the alley. But mostly the businesses around that, unbelievable enthusiasm. And the community has been so positive, it's shocked me, actually. People are excited about this idea. It has been an evolving plan. So we started with one idea, we got a lot of feedback, and we changed it so that we're not having tables that could be walk away. We went to spools, but I heard from the city we couldn't block the alley, so we changed it again. We brought in only pews, church pews that have been discontinued, and that we can then not narrow the alley at all. They fit within the existing gas meters. So we also raised our sign for the alley so that it's up in the area where the wires are. It's not touching the wires, but the wires droop in the alley, and so it's up above at that drooping level. So we made a lot of changes. However, our application was denied. And I want to thank both city staff and city leadership who encouraged me to appeal this. I do think this idea is worth visiting one more time to see if we want it or not. This idea is so novel that we've never had to examine something like this before. We had a public event, an event application that I was asked to do, but this is not an event. This is a public space. Now, when we have an event request form, it's really the city staff is tasked, per my understanding, to look for any problems, to look for risks, and to protect the city. They're not really given the freedom to say, okay, here's the risks, here's the benefits. They need to look for risks in the short side. You all are the ones that are tasked with being visionaries and looking the long term and weighing if risks are worth it. So I consider it a privilege to then bring this to you, because there hasn't been a way we've never had to think about public space transformation. I intensely respect the city managers, the city department heads that made decisions on this. I work well with fire, with police, with public works, with the city manager, and I respect the concerns they raised. Out of respect for that, I wanted to list every single one that they raised in that declination letter, the letter that said it was denied. So I'm listing them here. I'm giving my response to that, and I'm glad to know that we'll hear some more from them after this. I was told that we couldn't do planters or spools. The planters were supposed to be blocking the front of the alley, but when we revised it and submitted the actual application, those have been taken out. So this is really not an issue because it was already amended. Another concern was that the children's games might cause children to come and play unsupervised. We actually want people of all ages to feel welcome in the space, to use it. We want people to linger. We really are thinking of this space more as family, so that you've got a family that goes, picks up Zona Ice or Bloom or Bravo or Copper Hen, and they bring it in the alley, and their little toddlers and school kids are playing while the mom and dad are able to sit and actually eat the food. So we imagine it that way. Both of these pictures are ideas that we had suggested for our alley activation project. Games painted on the ground and some up to 4 feet high climbing handholds, which the Humane Society has said, fine, put it on the back of our warehouse, which is where we planned it. Another concern that was raised is that we had proposed an interactive chalkboard, one where people could write things that they're grateful for. This is not a new idea. This has been done in other communities all over. And the concern is that people might abuse the interactive chalkboard, or they might have vandalism, and they might. But I think it's equally, if not greater chance, that there will be appropriate use of the chalkboard and of the space. I think as more people embrace it and claim it as their own, they will also take care of the space. I see that at the community center. I see it at Old Dominion. I see it at the dog park. People step up and pick up and clean and help and notify the city if there's a problem because they own the space. I think this has the potential to be a space like that. Another concern, who will be responsible for maintenance and repair of amenities? The local businesses have been so supportive of it that they've actually agreed for this 3-month trial. These businesses are going to send a staff member every single day out into the space to walk it and see if there's a problem. Every day. If there is a problem, they'll contact someone from iArt Globe, from the committee that's a part of iArt Globe, to fix it. So we have community folks that are so supportive, they're letting their paid staff go and walk this space to help police and maintain it. Another concern, applicant is requesting city take on maintenance responsibility. That is not true. What we are requesting is that the city add 2 trash cans, a trash can at either end. But this space, we're not asking them to take on new responsibility. This is public space that the city is already responsible for. The city is responsible for our parks and our streets, keeping them clean and safe. This is part of that responsibility. By having us coming in and having more people, I think that we'll be able to actually help the city and take some of that responsibility, lessen that. But we do anticipate people coming and having trash. We do not want them leaving it in the space, and we don't want them putting it in the business's trash cans. That would be unfair. So what we've proposed are some bike lockers that are big enough to fit 2 trash cans. So there's 4 businesses that each have 2 trash cans. We've put into our budget 4 of those lockers that the business can either lift it from above or below on the doors to roll them out, but they can lock them. They don't have that freedom right now. Right now, people are using those trash cans for all sorts of junk, including carpets and other things that they're just dumping on these poor businesses. The other thing that's happening is that right now, those trash cans are coming out into the middle of the alley. They're blocking the alley. I've had to stop my car on 3 occasions, get out, move the trash can, go back in my car to be able to go through. So our project would actually solve that problem. And if we decide we don't want to go on after the 3 months, no problem. I'm not going to take those bike lockers back. The businesses can keep it. So it's a benefit to them that they will have at no charge. Concerns by PD, that's the police department, that the addition of amenities will attract members of the transient population to congregate, creating a known destination. Concerns by PD that there will be no property owners available after hours to trespass those using the amenities as living facilities. This is not a potential problem. This is a problem that exists right now. This is a problem that this project would actually help solve or potentially solve. There are vagrants that are sleeping back there. I talked to business owners that along the alley, they've stepped in human excrement. They have people using their water to bathe. It is already a transient population known destination. If we put lighting in there, if we put people, if we start to encourage positive activity, I think that will decrease some of the problems that we currently have in that space. But also, if we are making this into a linear park, Globe has the most parks per capita of any city in Arizona. I love that statistic. A lot of our parks are these little tiny pocket parks. That's what this would be. This would be a very small linear pocket park. And because of that, we already have curfew hours for our parks. It's already posted in our city code, but we can also post hours on that. Right now, there aren't people after hours to trespass violators right now. But if we made this into a park and we list hours of operation, that becomes a tool for the police to do their job more easily. They actually will have a reason to step in that they don't have right now. Not a reason, a support for stepping in. Concern. Fire department is concerned about immediate access needed to investigate emergency calls for Broad Street businesses. Fire department is also concerned about material content of amenities placed against the building. We are not lowering the width height. We are not narrowing the width. It is the exact same width and height that it is now. It is excruciatingly narrow right now, but we're not changing that. What our proposals will fit into and away from not lowering and not narrowing. But also right now, that space is weed and trash strewn. I've seen business owners back there weed whacking and spraying and trying to keep the weeds down. We need more people in there to actually have an eye on it. And I think if people own it, they will help with this. Access to utilities for inspection, troubleshooting, and repairs. Water, these are the specific ones that were listed in the letter. Water, sewer, APS, Southwest Gas, CenturyLink, and Sparklight. All of these utilities have easements in that alley right now. Again, though, we are not narrowing, taking away, we're not reducing their hours. It's the exact same as it is now. Same access. Now, if they come in, it's going to be, if there's a delivery to a business there, if there's unloading of something by a business owner, if there's a utility, then if there's kids playing, it's like when we grew up and we'd ride our bike in the street or we'd play ball, you step aside for the car. If they need to do work, if the water or APS, then you step away. It's closed. I mean, that's to me, we have smart people. Our citizens can figure that out. Another concern, concerns of unintentional and intentional damages to gas meters, gas lines, APS meter, fuse boxes, conduit, cable boxes, overhead power, and utility lines. This is what it looks like right now. You can see the gas meters popping out. You can see some of the APS boxes. It's a little hard to see the drooping wires in this particular photo, but there's all sorts of wires. You can see on the ground where different utility access had to open up the pavement and work on sewer and water lines. This is an alley that is used for that. We are not going to change their access, and the concerns about these being attractive nuisances, these things have been out there for decades. These potential problems are not new, they're current. I think bringing people in, again, will help reduce, but we also suggested something that I don't know if Southwest Gas would want to do this, but we made a proposal and we didn't hear back that if they're worried about kids seeing the gas meters, then we'll make them less obviously visible. This is a washing machine surround, and Pam Osborne was gracious enough to paint this for us. And it can take away, you can't see it. But if Southwest Gas wants to come along, they can easily read it. And it's not attached. It's by the safety bollards. You can just lift it out. It was not effort to remove it if they need to do work on it. Concerns by city administration that the alley, given its restrictive size, uses, and abundance of outright hazards, make it irresponsible to sanction public gatherings in a place overrun with utility infrastructure. I have said this, but I'll say one more time. There's been research on these alleys, research on the activation. It has been proven again and again that alley activation decreases crime, increases property value, increases positive public presence, enhances safety, stimulates the economic revitalization, increases pride of place, encourages tourism, and strengthens connection to the community. What we would be doing is giving yet another reason for people to fall in love with where they live. This is a gift to the community. It handles the negative that's in that space, but it adds positive to the whole district. I mentioned this earlier. Again, city staff, from my understanding of events review, have to look for the risks. You, as our leaders, get to look on what's the vision, what's the future. You get to make the decision of these risks, which we've identified, might be outweighed by the benefits that we've also identified from other communities' experience. So I ask that you consider that, and as you make a decision on whether to appeal or repeal or make a different decision on this this public space proposal, I really ask that you would consider a yes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if you had any questions before we go to city staff.
Questions for Theo from anybody?
No, I've read the report and I've thought about it, so I'm ready to hear from our staff.
I am too.
Go ahead, Freddie.
So I do have some questions. If we could go back to the image where you showed what it looks like existing right now. That one right there. Those are garbage cans there along the walls. Is that correct?
There are garbage cans on both sides of the alley.
Right.
The one on the right actually blocks and decreases the width of the alley. They're supposed to be in that section on the left. And
So-
that's where we propose the corrals, the trash can corrals.
Okay. And the business owners are okay with that because obviously that's their that's their garbage service. Are those cans pulled out to the main street for the garbage truck to pick up?
Yes.
Is that how it works? Okay.
Yeah, they have to drag them all the way out. It's over by Copperhead that they're placed in the street.
And
you
that's,
can-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And you can see that there's not just business trash. Sometimes there's random things that other people have added.
Sure, yeah. And then so the proposal would be those go away and these other cans that you had,
No,
No.
those will stay there.
no, these stay, but we create a surround on them. So a bike storage locker that is the exact size of 2 of those trash cans. Those bike storage lockers have, imagine a U. They have a lid that opens that you can lock. They also have doors that open that you can lock. So if the businesses want to open the top, they can lock or not lock, but they can put their trash in. And when it's time to roll the cans out, they unlock the lower. So it will be a gift to them.
So
It
have
doesn't,
you,
Let Freddie,
I'm sorry.
so I'm just thinking about, because you know how garbage cans can smell after a few days of trash. And, you know, how's that going to affect this project? You know, I get the beautification, but then you're going to have some obvious smelly cans.
Well, if it's an issue, we'll address it. But it's actually going to take the trash cans and put them within another contained space, which I think will reduce scent and odor that's a problem. But I will tell you, I'm guessing on that.
Yeah, no, I was just, when I saw that, I thought, well, I mean, beautification and then the garbage cans, it's kind of like, they kind of like don't fit.
Hard combo, yes.
So it was just a thought,
Thank you.
just a thought. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Mike, go ahead.
So anything you have along the wall does not decrease the size of the alley as far as transportation?
Correct.
Okay, because I drove my truck down through there and it's tight.
It's really tight. The Pentecostal church updated their pews. They were getting rid of their older ones, and one of our iArt Globe people acquired them. Those are the ones that would be used, so I know the measurements. I went out there with a tape measure. Those gas meters and the bollards that keep them safe, they vary from like 2.5 feet to 4.5 feet. Each one is a different area. There's also an APS pole. Don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can, obviously, the APS pole. That pokes out into the alley. But what these things that protrude allow is they create little pockets of space. So we're proposing using those pockets of space.
I have a couple of questions to you. The material that you're talking about, these bike lockers, what material is that?
I believe it's metal.
It's metal.
And we have a volunteer who's willing to put them together so the business owner doesn't even have that headache. So
And how often do they pick up trash? Twice a week?
Mondays and Thursdays. So those cans will have to be brought out Sunday night, Monday pickup, and Wednesday evening for Thursday pickup.
Okay.
And it's typically 7 to 8 cans both days.
And that's the business owner's responsibility
I do it every week.
for all of the business people?
Farley's takes it out Sunday, then I haul them back in Monday, and then I take them out Wednesday and bring them back Wednesday.
For the whole alley?
Well, not all the way down on the, whether that be the
The
north
other
end.
Mhm.
That from this picture that shows there's 8 cans total.
The monitoring of the individuals, so they monitor, so they obviously would monitor what the chalk would look like, the chalkboard, if they do put something that's not, should be up there.
that would be one thing, but I'd also like to know if someone is defaced a pew, a bench, if someone has put graffiti on the trash corrals. I mean, they're looking at the whole alley as far as, is there anything that needs some attention?
And the climbing wall is 4 feet. Is that a risk? That is,
No.
I don't know how that would.
So at that section of the alley, there's actually an incline, So at the highest point, I think got my plans to look at, but I believe that's the 4-foot space, and it actually goes to less on the inclined side. So this is for little tiny kids. This is not something, I mean, a grown kid or a school-age kid, it's probably already going to be too low.
Now, I had another question. How far down, if this was to be approved, we're talking not the whole alley, we're talking, how far down is
Good question.
the trial period? Per
I
se.
wrote that into the application. I think it's 176 feet, but I can tell you for sure is that it's where Copperhead starts, and it goes down the alley, but it stops where Shirley's building is. So she has some inset parking, so it stops before that. It stops right at the edge of the High Desert Humane Society warehouse. So they've got their little blue dog adoption, little mini building. That will be outside of this zone.
So it doesn't go the whole length of the alley.
It does not. And that was predominantly because of Shirley's concerns. She didn't want anything that could potentially block that, and she's trying to sell her building. And so we shortened it to support that, but we also think that this is likely to increase the value of her property, and that is a benefit or a gift we can give to her.
I have one other question.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thea, I thought I heard you say that, you know, and it was on top of Al's comment about maintaining during the trial period. What happens after the trial period if this is a project that's accepted?
I don't know. At that point, we all discuss it. And if the maintenance is going to be a problem, we take it down. We're doing it for 3 months to see if any of these stated concerns are as problematic as some people feel. And if the benefits are as positive as I think they are, we'll know at least a little bit of it at the end of 3 months.
Okay.
And Mike, I should probably say that if we decide to dismantle it, we are not planning to repaint the buildings. So the bright colors on the buildings would remain, but we would take out all the other amenities. We would paint over the chalkboard, we'd take off the climbing handholds, we'd remove the pews, the benches. One thing that I didn't mention that's kind of cool is those bright colors that, very young, vibrant colors that the artist chose. The tops of those buildings are visible from the highway. So the benefit that Superior has when they did the backs of their buildings, I have pulled into Superior just because another building got painted on the backside to see what's happening. Well, this will create a little bit. It won't be as dramatic as theirs where the road's above looking down, but you'll be able to see the tops of the buildings with orchid and salmon and lemon and lime and these other colors.
Mike, go ahead.
Excuse me. Thank you for this. I think it's a great idea. I just want to reiterate that the city's already short-staffed. I want to make sure that they're not going to be liable for trash pickup or whatever, or cleaning the alley.
I
They
am
are short-handed already.
expecting that the trash cans at either end would be emptied when the city truck goes around emptying on Broad Street. That is what I requested, is that trash cans be put there and included like the city street trash cans. But I'm not expecting them to go into the alley to handle vandalism or to clean up. That is something that iArt Globe members have committed to for this trial.
And if it is a problem picking up the trash, maybe business owners can chip in and pick up the trash. I mean, like I said, I haul it out twice a week.
Well, there's
I'm sure
trash
if
there
you-
now.
Huh?
There's trash there now.
Yeah.
So, and again, if,
I just want to make sure that they're
yeah,
not
if,
expected to
no.
do
I-
more than they're already doing.
I am expecting the city puts out trash cans that fit with the branding that we already have in the downtown region. And I'm expecting that the city trash truck and workers that empty the ones on Broad would include these. But I am not expecting within the alley work.
Any other questions? I do have one more question, Thea, just on the 100, I don't know how many feet you said, do we have any businesses that oppose it within that 106?
We have one business owner I should say the building owner who loves the idea and the tenant is hesitant, doesn't know what this would bring. I have not been able to reach Noelle to ask her. I have not received responses from Tolman's Mini Storage, which is part of why they have nothing on their buildings. And I have not been able to figure out who the current cannabis dispensary building owner is. Linda had talked to that person who was supportive, but I'm not sure if it's changed hands. So that would have to be confirmed before any painting happened.
And Mr. Mayor,
You got one more, Mike?
On your application, your trial period is from August to October. Obviously, that's going to change.
Obviously.
From
So
October-
what I would love to do is keep you up to date when I can hear from Freeport when their volunteer day would be, and then we could start the 3 months after their volunteer day. And actually, I think it's probably going to take 3 days for the painting, but I would try and get the volunteers to come on either side of the Freeport time to prep it, for them to paint, and then for like the surface on the ground where people are walking would need to be painted.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, before we bring staff up, Thea, I just had a quick comment. First, thank you for capturing my thoughts from administration. That's remember it better than I remember it. So you did a great job. That helps me out. I just wanted to go back to one issue about maintenance responsibility, and you said that the city was had expected that said that you were requesting maintenance responsibility, and you said that was wrong, that you were not requesting maintenance responsibility?
I said I'm not expecting maintenance in the alley, but I did request the trash cans at either end that would be picked up by the city.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify for everyone watching, the reason that we believe that you are and doesn't sound like you're doing it now, but in the application, it says there's a spot called City Services Requested, as yes or no. The answer is yes. If yes, please list services needed. And then you hand wrote in there, maintain the same as Broad Street or a city park. And so,
Same as it is right now. I'm not asking for extra.
Well,
I'm asking for what it already is.
so a city park, we go in, we weed eat, we clean up, we make sure things are safe. Are you asking for are you now still asking for the same as the city park?
City street or a city park? I listed both. So what would your staff do on a city street? What would you do on Broad Street?
And
That's what I'm asking, because it is a city access way.
right, and so what we would do in an alley is very little. Let John address that. But if you're asking for the same maintenance as a city park, that's significant, and we would just if this
Be in there all
passes.
the time.
Yeah, if this passes, we would not, I think staff would ask to not, we would ask to not be held to that level unless it's council's desire that we maintain it like a city park. But our goal is to,
Mr. Mayor,
Jesse.
Jesse,
Paul, I'm not understanding. I'm understanding that staff is shorthanded and just coming back from COVID, where we are. But those pictures have been illuminating as to an alleyway that is not kept up, an alleyway that we have easements on, an alleyway that we've stated concerns as from fire department's aspects as to saying, the fire or things being put up against buildings that could cause fires. Meanwhile, they're looking at those pictures that Thea has shown. There's brush, there's trash there are obvious signs of vagrants being there. Things that, when we bring tourists into this community and they travel down that alleyway, I would then just assume that that's our responsibility to take care of those alleyways, to ensure that there's not excrement on the ground or weeds up to your eyeballs, or the trash cans aren't in the middle of the alleyway. So if there was an emergency, the fire department could get down there, the police department could get down there and not have to stop their vehicle to get out to move a trash can or get out to move trash out of those. So the fact that we haven't been doing it, I think that that's a discredit to Globe, and I think that we may need to address that.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Leatham, right now in our current situation, we prioritize the areas that we address. We are not able, John, I don't even have to look at him to know, he could do so much more if he had the manpower, if he had the people that, the jobs. There is so much more that he wants to do, that we want him to do, that we as a city want to have done, but we have to prioritize that. And I will tell you that a utility alley is not a priority. I will tell you that the parks that people go to now, the dog parks, the beautiful areas that are seen that a majority of the people drive through is the priority. And there's places now where we have comments about weeds and that kind of thing. So I think our maintenance right now in the alley, and I'll let John talk to this very soon, is to make sure it's clear. But if this was to pass, then it would require, and John has told this to me, if this is a place where people gather, not just Southwest gas trucks go through and fire trucks, he has a higher standard. He would want someone to maintain that alley in a safe, respectable way, likened to what we believe our standard is. And therefore, I just want council to understand, if it is council's wishes to approve this, that someone needs to be doing maintenance in there. And if it's your desire to have the city do the additional maintenance, this would be a new burden on city staff, and we're okay with that. If that's council's, we will make adjustments. We will take it away somewhere else. We will reprioritize to make this that. Or from what I hear is that there are volunteers to be doing that, and that's just the clarity. We'll do whatever council requests. If you want this to be approved with staff taking responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep of the alleyway, or with the applicant taking responsibility for the maintenance and upkeep, and we can have that discussion. But I just wanted to clarify that. And what we're having is a definition problems of what we call maintenance, and that we see the definition as maintenance as being street and park like, which has an impact on man hours. And so I think, unless there's any more questions, we can go to John, and then we can go.
I do have one other thing, Paul.
Yeah, Jesse, go ahead.
If these alleyways are activated, don't you think that the business owners then are going to take a sense of pride that they don't want that back alleyway to depict their business in that light? So they want to be out there ensuring that it looks good, it's kept up, that because they're going to be driving traffic that way. From the traffic that drives there comes traffic into their business.
Oh, I agree.
So I think that there'll be a sense of pride, a sense of responsibility, a sense of, let's work together to make sure that this isn't like that.
And Councilman Leatham, I agree that I believe that if this takes off, that there'll be pride for that, and people will take care of that. But we just need to determine the bottom line as to who is ultimately responsible if something is messed up. Is it going to be the iArt Globe, or is it going to be city staff? And do we put it on a rotation to go and go through and do it on our routes to check it? And so we can probably, come back to that once we get closer to it. But I just wanted to clarify, and I'm glad we did, so we know what we're talking about.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Paul, you're having a great question, and when I filled that in on the application, I was thinking about the request or the question that had come from one of the utilities about if we have to jackhammer the road, we're not going to repaint those colors.
Yes, correct.
And I'm like, no, of course not. I wouldn't expect that. The maintenance of these amenities, of these additions, is what I am saying we'd do. But if there is cement work that's going to happen, iArt Globe is not taking that on.
No, because
that would fall under what I would say is the city's existing responsibility. So I'm not asking Public Works to take on more jobs, except for emptying the trash on each side. I'm expecting that if there's anything happening with any of those amenities, that's IART Globe's responsibility.
So checking to make sure that if this climbing wall and any of the foots that grab onto are loose,
Yep.
that is going to be our Globe's responsibility to make sure they're safe.
Yes,
And if these cans need maintenance, the protector cans, that'll be IART Globe. They'll make sure that they're functioning and repaired, or if they're damaged.
Correct.
Okay. And so that's great news.
and we just need to hear if Southwest Gas would allow that. I mean, if they will, I got people ready to work.
And we have comments from them, and so
Okay.
we'll go through, and I have a list of other things. If they don't bring it up in staff, I'll follow up at the end. So.
Okay, yeah, let's move to staff,
Yeah.
so I think we got
Mr.
the
Mayor?
point on that already.
I want to hold my comments until we hear from staff. And as they come up, I want them to be encouraged to say what they think and feel, that you guys are not the bad guys in this case. You are the pros who see risk and deal with it every day in all of our facilities. So feel free to say what you need to say. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
do you
yeah,
want me
let's-
to sit down? Where do you want me to stay?
Yeah, if you want to take a seat, and then that way we can have staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we'll bring you back up. I think we'll let the three staff members talk, and then bring
Thank you,
back up.
Theo.
So let
Thank you.
John and okay, we'll start with John.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I knew this would probably go a little lengthy. I just want to start off by thanking Thea. I mean, I believe the IART group's got, a great concept. I really am happy for adding color to downtown. I've always wanted that and some of the enhancements that we're looking at doing long-term. But also, just like it's already been mentioned a few times, I've also got to look at the maintenance and the safety part of it, being as the safety compliance officer, the director of the department, and also I walk through with our annual Southwest risk inspections for city facilities. So those three things in mind. The first of all, maintenance is pretty much always a broad, concept when we talk about it. The first maintenance that we look at is utilities. Blue staking, everything's painted. Of course, we're going to go through and we're going to mark the marks accordingly. That's required by law. Before any excavation for not just our utilities, but also the contractors that will be doing work through there. So that, to me, could be major. Historically, we haven't had major issues unless there's fire and inspections, just like APS indicated in their concerns. The second would be as far as the garbage disposal. I know it sounds simple. It's 2 garbage cans, but walking into City Hall right now, this side of the parking lot, the garbage can's topped off. So it's just, once again, it's just a daily thing for City Hall. But for downtown Globe, we do it twice a week. This week, we did it per pickup trucks and employees because we don't have a CDL driver to drive the garbage truck. Just through downtown alone, including our facilities, Active Adult Center, we got 50 garbage containers. That's not including our neighborhood parks that they did. So basically, it's a daily event for 3 individuals to do that. So, adding 2 might not seem like a lot, but also driving a CDL or a garbage truck through a one-way street, it's also additional traffic, and it's narrow back there. But that's part of that maintenance part of it. The cleanup has been my concern, the day-to-day. Because I understand that if we do have daily inspections per volunteers, who would do? I have residents that call me every day that I have multiple issues with weeds and roads and everything. Can I get there? No, I can't. Not every day. We make a list, and that's how we deal with it accordingly. As simple as a picnic bench. You've all seen it by the train depot. That daily. We had the Wings of Hope this weekend. I was chasing somebody off at 5 o'clock in the morning and cleaning that picnic bench because somebody was sleeping on it and had all his gear there. So yeah, those are the concerns. One picnic bench doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's continuous and when it happens throughout the day, that becomes troublesome when we have all our crews, the crews that we do have, disbanded in other areas. So that there's that maintenance part of it. The other maintenance part of it would be as far as monitoring. Somebody monitoring the climbing wall, where was the nuggets? That was my concern, and me and Thea had talked about that. My first red flag for me as a safety person was, how high up will it go? Who's going to monitor the anchors that are in the concrete? Because we know it's designed for 5, 6-year-old lightweight kids, but we're going to get teenagers in that same alley that might be as big as me, that are going to loosen something up from the next day to, one day to the next. My concern is let's follow up. If we're going to do that, who's going to be checking those anchors? When they find those loose objects on there, is it going to be closed? Is it going to be removed? We don't know. That's not we haven't moved further in this process to address those type of things. Thea brought up the fact that, this is public space and we do maintain that. Yes, we don't go in there as often as we would like to, because we're addressing City Hall, our neighborhood parks. But changing this alleyway into that manner, we're inviting people now into this alleyway. My concern is we have electrical panels that are exposed. Some of them are outdated. I hope that there's nothing in there, but that's probably per building inspector. We have water meters that are still, they have lids, but it's not level ground. We're inviting public into uneven ground that is actually considered an alleyway. And then also looking at the presentation, we had the gas covers. If they're not anchored down and they're made of thin metal, to me, how are they going to stay put? And are they going to be moved around? Are they going to have sharp edges? Those are the things that I look at, because looking at some of the information on the proposal, and me and Thea have dealt with this per the dog park, cutting cutouts for dogs in same material, really sharp. And we had to address that, and I had one of my facilities gentlemen and took care of those issues. Are these issues going to be addressed? And like Thea said, it hasn't been approved through the gas company, but that's also a concern. The church pews, are they wood? Are they finished? I don't know. I would want to do that research and moving further along is if you are in favor of this. But also we all know that I have benches downtown, and unless they're anchored down, they're not safe. And we've all been to church one time or another, and those are actually bolted down as well. So I don't know, maybe to Thea, if these would be bolted down, because they're not as movable and mobile as we might think, until if there's a situation. Then they will sit back, like you said, with the measurements. But same thing, when the maintenance needs to be done on those, I would hope that that's something that would be considered. We talk about the hanging lights. I walked through there a couple different times when we've met out there on the project. And, one of my concerns was where are they going to be anchored to? If there's going to be a cable off of them or anything. We talked about, I know it was brought up, solar lighting. Solar lighting's great. I mean, I don't know how long if it'll last the duration. We're headed towards the winter months. I don't know when this would take place, if it did take place. So the lighting, I don't know how long that would last, because I know unless solar lights don't work as often as long as we hope they do. But also, if they were hardwired into a building, where would they be hardwired? Would that be inspected? And if you walk the alley on per the presentation on the pictures, there's not a lot of area that you can hang these lights. It's long sections. There's a break between that. So you probably have to strand a cable between poles. And I don't know if APS would be in favor of that, because that's from when we tried the downtown events and stuff and stringing lights, they said they weren't designed for that. So that might be an obstacle that your group may look at down the road. Walking through there on the residents, and it could be contacting the business owners. There's a lot of rain gutters that have been hit a time or two. They're damaged, a lot of sharp edges, simple things, but we're inviting public and kids to play in this alley, where traditionally we wouldn't invite. I know I'd take my kids to the park, but I probably wouldn't take them to the alley. It doesn't discredit this project by any means. I think those things can be fixed and addressed if it goes forward. But some of those are my concerns as far as safety. Staffing, of course, this is one of those times that I hate to bring it up, but I will bring it up because long-term, to me, this is tip of the iceberg. You know, we had a great presentation from the library group that's going to enhance their area, vegetation, landscape. I am thinking, you know what, Public Works is going to be involved in that. Once it's completed, who's going to do that maintenance? We talk about the TP project. That's also landscape, lighting. Who's going to maintenance that project? We talk about a downtown pocket park and skate park possibly. We're going to inherit that project. We look at adding drinking stations downtown. We're going to inherit that project. You know, we just added some more trees downtown and watering. All that takes, you know, additional staff. And this is not a plea or plug for additional staff, but you know what? This is the tip of the iceberg. You know, I applaud the efforts for this group. I think it's a lot of the art, and I think the enhancements are needed for downtown Globe. I've had a lot of discussions with Thea and other people that why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? I think it really is. And I think we're at a pivotal time where we're getting ready to enhance this park, you know, bring in new playground equipment. I'm really excited about all that. But I'm also have to do the reality check for myself and what the phone calls that I deal with and what I deal with on the safety aspect, on the public aspect, and what we're inviting them areas to go to. You know, this is, you know, if you walk the alley, the concrete where it definitely does needs to be repaired. You know, we spent a budget last year, everything we had to work on the mesquite. And we all know that's one of council's requests. Our request is the additional funding for concrete work throughout the city. And I know that we're not prepared to spend that type of money in the alleyway when we got multiple sidewalks and this front area out here that needs to be taken care of. You know, so yes, priority wise, the alleys have not been our priority because we're actually trying to take care of the public areas. And this is a public area, but the traffic has not been invited to this public area. It's an alley. And that's kind of how we've treated it that way and addressed the areas that we are inviting people to or special events and everything else. It does need work, but there's a whole list of areas that we need work. So that's my, any questions on?
It's obviously we need to look at developing a public works, recreation, and parks department. And I think that's something we need to be aware of it next time around because we are looking at recreation and those type of functions for the city. So I appreciate your comments, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
And then Chief Robinson's going to speak next. John, thank you.
If I squint at you, it's because I can't see you because I want to be able to see my notes. Mr. Mayor, council members, I think Thea hit this on the head when she talked about this is something that we haven't imagined before. A use of a space that we have not previously looked at and had to review as a special events council or a special events group in how do we address a non-traditional use of a space. One of the things that in my review, in discussions with the special events group that we looked at with this is, you know, the goal here is to take a space that's typically a utility space that, you know, that was, you know, that the ultimate function wasn't necessarily to move people from place to place, but was to serve a purpose in serving those individuals that come to the downtown with water, with gas, with electricity, in a manner that has those utilities out of the way and out of the public spaces. With the ultimate goal of providing a little bit of safety and beautifying the streets to an extent in keeping those things out of the normal public access ways. With this, we're taking a space that we now have a city ownership that exists within that space. We have right-of-ways that are provided to utility companies within that space to provide their services. We have utility companies that have infrastructure that exists in and around those buildings. And then we have the IART group that has this proposed use of that space. When we look at, and when I look at this from a fire code perspective, is like, how do we treat this space? If we take this space and we create it for a use, is there things that apply to the fire code and how we address those issues? I think Thea has done a good job of addressing a couple of the concerns that I had in the thing. An example would be the bicycle lockers. One of my biggest concerns. We're not going to drive a fire truck through those alleys. They weren't designed to drive a fire truck through those alleys. We have to have unimpeded access to utilities to be able to get to them, to be able to secure them, if possible. One of the biggest things, though, and Thea brought up the current status of the alley. As a fire department, we recognize that an issue does exist within our alleys. An issue, just in garbage cans alone. One of my biggest concerns is we tend to place those garbage cans behind our buildings and our downtown buildings. Our downtown buildings have a significant amount of void spaces in them. They're old buildings. Fires that start on the outsides of buildings go into those void spaces, and they become very challenging fires very quickly. So that becomes a big concern in the fact that we don't add to that. I haven't seen the bicycle lockers. I'd be interested in seeing the bicycle lockers and how well they secure the garbage cans and how well they could potentially contain something. As long as they don't add to the fire load, I think that is a viable option. But it's not the only concern we have. If we take a space and we reimagine it for the type of use that we're looking at, to the view of myself and Fire Marshal Bracamonte in reviewing this, we then make that space because of the limited amount of space, and there's only access at either end to that space. We create, in essence, an assembly type occupancy under the fire code that would have to address some specific fire code concerns going forward. Some of those we may be able to mitigate fairly easily. Some of those, may be a little bit more challenging. You don't traditionally find garbage cans secured or unsecured in an assembly type occupancy. Lighting, how is that lighting installed? What is the intention of lighting? Does it meet the standards under the fire code to be in place? Those things would have to be addressed. I'm not a utility person, but I do know there has, like we talked about the archway was presented. Clearance, not only do we realize that it's above the level of where the wires hang down to, but what distance is it clearance from those utility spaces? That could become a question as well. I brought up the access to the utility things. The concept of putting those out of sight, out of mind is good. The problem that we have is we can't impede those in any way. They need to be visible to personnel. Personnel need to be able to readily locate that for the business to be able to secure it. Any amenities that we add to that would need to be amenities that don't contribute to any kind of combustibility to the space. We want to make sure that when, if we do look at this going forward, that when we install things like benches, if we install benches in those spaces, I understand we can install those in spaces where they're not going to branch out, and branching out into the alley, you know, a little bit is less of a concern to me than if we impede access to any type of gas meter in particular, electric panels, anything like that. Those would need to be clear. We have 2 occupancies along that strip of alleyway that are assembly type occupancies that have to have access to that alley as part of their secondary means of egress from their building for their occupants. You know, we'd have to make sure that we address those. We'd have to make sure that we address any amenities that they don't in any way impede those egress areas. And you know, again, that one's easily managed with some fire code compliance inspections, that type of thing. The idea, I'm with John. You know, I think adding color to our downtown, I think adding space to our downtown is a positive thing. But I also believe that needs to be done in a manner that mitigates the challenges that we face in the best way possible. Some fire code compliance with this project would be possible, but again, with everything that was presented there, you know, we ultimately made this decision to recommend against the project. But you know, given what's been presented, I think Thea makes an excellent point that, you know, it's now your guys' decision to take that information and weigh it. You know, what is the benefits versus what are the risks.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, any questions for Fire Chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, then we have one more with Lieutenant Williams.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Appreciate you allowing me a few minutes. I represent the Office of Chief of Police. Chief Walters was absent today, and he and Commander Castaneda, Commander Haynes, asked that I be here and represent the police department's viewpoint on this. I myself.
You're okay to take off your mask if you want to. So
sorry.
Better
just put it on.
Traveling through there, but once you're standing, you're good.
Thank you, sir.
The mask rules.
Some of the concerns the police department has, and I walked through there just this afternoon with Commander Haynes, and we were going through it. You know, there's no point in kind of beating a dead horse. I think John and Gary really covered a lot of the valid points. Some of our main issues that we have is I can tell you for a fact, this area, unless it's extremely well lit and well patrolled, which we do not have the ability to do right now, will create a hotspot for transients. As John mentioned, right now, the train depot, take for instance, we got one table there. Any one of you drive by there every day, you're going to see transients there. They collect there. It would have to be extremely well lit. And again, we're going to get into some fire code stuff on that. A lot of my key points, like I said, they've already covered, so we're going to go through that. You know, the limited access to the alleys. I feel like she presented a good point on that we can control that to a certain degree. I can tell you right now, just from my walkthrough this afternoon at the Humane Society, or going by the Humane Society to inspect the area, every dog there was barking. So what that's going to create is in that neighborhood and for those businesses is with constant, continuous people hanging out in that area, every dog at the Humane Society is going to bark. Guess who they're going to call to come over there and complain? They're going to call the police department. We're understaffed as it is. So we're understaffed that we can't patrol it for the transient problem that this is going to create. Absolutely will create. And then the barking dog problem that we're going to have. I hung out there for 5-10 minutes today with Commander Haynes, and every dog in that place was barking just because I walked by. So you can imagine a congregation of loud kids having a great time there, without a doubt. Constant dogs barking. That means complaints. And then that's when your business owners and restaurateurs and stuff are going to start getting upset that all these dogs are barking all the time. So it's going to create an issue. There's no way around it unless they put the dogs away until 10 p.m. at night, and then they bring them back out. That's another issue, though, that I was going to highlight is there is an ordinance, and she made a very valid point. There are transients that hang out in that alley. I'm not going to deny that. It is rare in comparison to, again, the train depot, where there's a bench and a table. You put a bench, you put a table there, you put anything there, that's where they're going to sleep. Again, some of these issues I think would be covered. There's already no loitering signs. There's already stuff like that. The fact is during my walkthrough, I'm kind of klutzy anyway, but that area is absolutely not conducive for children playing. And I really thinking on the viewpoint of working with attorneys daily, the business owners there can say, hey, we'll volunteer and take responsibility. They can say, we'll take responsibility. End of the day, if somebody gets hurt playing in an area that was designed for utilities, okay, that is not a city park, and the city is not taking the responsibility to make sure it meets safety codes in a safe play area, the city is the one who is financially liable for what happens there, because it's our property, it's not theirs. And I really think that our attorneys should probably, be contacted on this, and is this something that a liability that the city is really willing to take on? I think the idea is great, and without a doubt, your presentation was phenomenal. But it's kind of like we're trying to put lipstick on a pig. We were presented today with another project from the library that needs funding. That area is fenced. We can protect it. We can control it. So maybe dump some money over there and beautify that area even more so than an alley. So that's kind of the public safety viewpoint on that. So I appreciate you guys letting us take the time and speak. Do you have any questions of me?
Questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to briefly reiterate, I think that liability is the issue. I did speak with Bill tonight before this. Because of the franchise agreements, the utilities have primary responsibility. We would ask, we would ask for liability insurance from IR Globe, but before the city, the franchise agreement. So if a kid hurt himself playing on a gas meter or got into electrical box, it would be APS, and as per our franchise agreement in Southwest Gas, that would have primary liability on that, I believe. But the use is a little different than traditional. But it is a concern. Again, I'll just, for my comments, I'll just say, given its restrictive size, use, and abundance of outright hazards, make it irresponsible to sanction public gatherings in a place overrun with utility infrastructure. It is an alley that is designed for that, and given the restrictions on it, as your city manager, I am opposed to approving this request, but the code is, and the process is, that if we have a decision, we are paid professionals, we give you our recommendations, we've done that, and the code allows for an appeal. So it is, the final decision is a legislative body, which is you, and as I think every member of staff in here has said, if not said, believes that if you ask us, if your vote is to continue and improve this. We will go forward. We will make this as safe as possible. We will address these issues that we brought up and work through them and do our best and not let you down. So that is our commitment to you. So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I give it back to you.
Go ahead, Fernando.
I think there's a perfect solution here, and that is that it's a trial basis. I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to clean something up. We're going to make it look better. We're going to light it up, because right now you go out there in the dark. I don't think you'd want to walk down that in the dark. It's kind of scary back there. People use it to go to the bathroom because there's no other place to go. That's what's there now. Okay, and I happen to be an insurance agent, and I could tell you right now that if somebody gets hurt in that alley, guess who's going to get sued? Us. And by lighting it up, we're going to be more at risk? Really? By cleaning it up, we're going to be more at risk? Really? If they can't maintain it and they don't maintain it, then we're an easy out. They don't get renewed. And I honestly would be very willing to go empty trash if that's what it takes to make this work, because I care about this community. I think we can be better. This is going to be something beautiful. It's going to be an attraction. I think it's going to bring property values up. It's going to show that we care. I say we try it. And if it's not safe and something doesn't work and we need to move a bench, then we'll move the bench. You know what I mean? But I just think that this is something that we ought to give it a try.
Mariano, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor.
Mayor.
I got Mariano first, Jesse.
In my previous life, one of the issues or responsibilities handed to us at the county was to be the designated risk management officer for the county. And my old boss, Carmen, was always walking county property with the fire marshal. And through that process of education, I learned what hazards to look for in any situation. Many of the things the department heads mentioned, or the representatives mentioned, I have seen before. And I have walked that alley twice at different times of the day. And I agree with all of our comments that it is not pristine. Having said that, I'm going to go to a second issue or comment. In my travels in the San Diego area, I've seen three examples of cities who do just that to entice and encourage the tourists to take part in their infrastructure, the activities that are there supported by the infrastructure. It's true that if you're in downtown San Diego, it's a very friendly tourism city. You can walk throughout that region. And the downtown area is designed for that. And of course, it's a large city. But I will tell you that once evening starts to show, the dusk, the complexion changes. You're not wanting to stay some places in downtown as you're walking from Petco Park to other areas. The complexion changes. It most certainly does. The town of Encinitas, which is bigger than us, is designed better for foot traffic than San Diego. It's a smaller city, 50,000. It's a lot larger than us, but they went in and did the quality control that you need to encourage foot traffic. And the parking lots are spread behind all of the blocks. There's even a diagonal crosswalk across two of the blocks. I've never seen that before. And that city is running basically 24 hours because it's a tourist center. We are a mining community trying to transition to a tourist community, trying to draw tourism. But we haven't taken care of this kind of infrastructure yet. And I'm not downgrading any utility or our own utilities that are presented here in that particular alley. That's just the way it turned out. Could we improve it? Of course we can. It all depends on how we as council, how much money we want to spend into the future. We're going to be asked to do these things again. And I think that project across the country, going to the website, was really interesting. There are spaces being improved. That matches that criteria. The current problem is this: how much, well, we'll learn from having a trial time and see what we need to do to either improve it, working with our infrastructure partners, working with the business owners, and learning from that experience. And at the end of 90 days, we may say, we can't do this one here. This may be the one that we just can't do. I like the idea of a trial basis. I wish it was a pristine environment, and having walked the alley, there are more hazards there. And John, you didn't allude to a couple of things. The parking lot with the chain fence behind it, not quite butting up against the roadway of the alley. There's about a 2 foot, maybe a 1 foot gap. So a child could fall into that gap and there'd be a safety issue right there. I am concerned about all of the infrastructure, just name them. And as I said, we're a transitioning community. Our alleys have not been taken care of. You all commented about the concrete is not level or even. I didn't stumble through that alley, but I could see at dusk how that could be a problem. So we have to discuss something into the future about some of these spaces that the city owns, and do we want to commit more resources to them? I don't know what the answer is. I know is that there's potential there. I do know that I've seen success stories in the San Diego area, but they've also taken the time to put the money into it. Now that's a bigger base over there. I understand that. And to address, we have to address whether we want to invest in things like this or stick to what our downtown projects look like. And then the other problem is funding and creating a parks department that is completely viable. That one's a strategic plan moment. We're not going to solve that tonight. But I like the idea, and I like the idea of a trial. We're going to go through a learning curve of this, and at the end of that learning, of that time, we need to visit it again and determine if we're going to support it fully. And our department heads have enough to do given the budget that we just approved. Here's another one, and should we take a look at it? I like the idea. I'm worried about some more aspects of the safety of it and liability. And yes, I do think our attorney should review this for liability potential. It is touching many different buttons that we've been trying to deal with since we approved the strategic plan and budget. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not the only voice out here. So.
Thank you, Marino. Jesse?
Thank you, Al. So I want to preface by first stating that how appreciative I am for the comments and concerns from our staff and their viewpoints. With that being said, we're not reinventing the wheel here. There's communities around us such as Flagstaff, Phoenix, and other communities, so on and so forth, that have already come up with guidelines on how to activate their alleyways, and they've already found these concerns and have rectified them, if you will. Trying to fit that into ours, we've done that with many of our codes. We've taken from other communities and made it fit to what fits us. I think this project is amazing. I think to get people out, to get people in downtown, that's what we're trying to do, is to bring people out. Globe used to have a sense of community, and for a long time Globe lost it. I think that this is something that will bring it back, something that families can go and partake in, and I agree with a trial period. We can come back and reevaluate. Okay, so that concern wasn't raised, but now it is a concern. This is how we fixed it, or this is how we can move it forward. We talk about, being understaffed, and I get that. We don't have the huge budget that you see in Phoenix or you see in Flagstaff. I understand that. But just as the library has a Friends of the Library, why couldn't we then look at ask the iHeart committee to look into Friends of the Alley Cat Alleys, to help maintain those alleyways, to help fund those alleyways, to come up with new innovative ideas for those alleyways, while ensuring that they have insurance riders, just like we ask for any special event. But an insurance rider, name us as equally insured. You talk about the alleyway not being level. Our sidewalks aren't level. One of my biggest projects and pet peeves that have been every time we talk about budget is we need to redo our sidewalks. You walk on there, if you're not looking, you're gonna fall. It's a problem that we see everywhere. So yes, there are huge problems, and what I see is minor issues that could eventually get to bigger issues. And I applaud our staff for not being reactive, but trying to be proactive. But sometimes we can be too proactive and hinder our growth. So that's all I have to say, Mayor. I think this is an amazing project, and I'd love to see it go forward.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
Mike, go ahead.
Well, I appreciate Thea's presentation because it was very well addressed. You addressed all the issues and you had answers for all the issues. And I think it's a good project, but after spending 34 years in the mines and knowing what safety is and the way you have to evaluate projects before you attempt them, John pointed out, you have to know what you're looking for all the time. Gary talks about knowing the fire code and make sure everything's within code and everything. So, I would suggest that if we do decide to approve this, we don't approve it to start right away. I would suggest that we have Thea and her group get with each one of the department heads and go on a tour up and down the alley and have your discussions and look at all of that. And then, I think everything's workable. I really do. It's just a matter of making sure everybody's on the same page. Okay? So, I would suggest you have that meeting and then we table this item for another meeting. Let everybody have their discussions because I don't think you've met with the department heads that just presented themselves and they haven't met with you that I know of. So I think that would benefit both groups to see what the pros and cons are of it. And if we do a trial period, that's what it'll be. It'll be a trial period and evaluated after those many days. I mean, if we don't do anything, we'll never know. Okay? And I think, this board, this council is pretty progressive on improving our community. So I would suggest that step be taken before we make a decision on the whole process. And I know our staff is shorthanded. I know they've got other things to do. But I think this is an important issue that would be a benefit. And then if it's only 176 feet, why don't you go to the other alley by the antique mill?
Go ahead. They won't hear you on.
Just out of curiosity, I'm.
We actually looked at alleys all through downtown. Okay. The one that I think you're talking about, by the antique, it's kind of goes behind the huddle. Yeah, it goes down steep. Yeah, that one's even narrower, and it doesn't have buildings on both sides. It's mostly Dr. Wilt's building's parking lot. There's not really any sense of containment.
Okay.
And that drop is also something that personally I thought was a safety risk. And yes, there's risks to this, but that didn't seem like it was a wise choice. But you know what? We can all walk the alleys. We can take a look at these different things. But this one won out because it's one of the few that we could see the backs of the buildings from the highway as well.
Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to address Councilmember Pastor's response, if your desire is to reverse this and approve the special event permit for a 3-month trial, it still requires HPAC approval and would have to come back. And so what I would suggest is that we get a decision here. If the decision's to reverse it, we go check with HPAC as required by historical, the district. And at the same time, we meet with the, and the group and cover these issues with, stipulations. We never got, because we denied it, we never got to the stipulations that we would have put it in if we had approved it. So now with a hard approval from council, we sit down and we know we're going to do it, and we just figure out the terms. And then we bring those stipulations back with the HPAC recommendation, and then you get to review the stipulations that we put on there to make sure they're proper, they're not onerous. We didn't put too much on, we didn't put too little on. And so you have final say over that. And so we would get a vote tonight, and then we would return that we would have to by code to bless the HPAC, and then wrap up with the stipulations.
Fred, do you have any comments?
And we do have comments once council's done.
Thank you, Mayor.
Comments from
the public.
So, I'm of the opinion that, for one, I think the IART Globe Committee is doing some fabulous things, have some really great ideas about how we want to beautify our downtown and other places within the community. And I approve of that mentality and that thought process. The concerns I have here, and I get the theme, I understand the theme of beautifying an alley. But my real concerns here are the alleys that we have create some very extreme challenges to be able to do these kinds of things. And I appreciate that Thea and her team has mitigated, done some mitigation processes and thinkings to help make this a viable project, with the initial concerns of our permitting team. I am, by profession, I am a utility operator. And, some utilities, mostly gas, electricity, are extremely dangerous utilities. We see in the news all the time, buildings blowing up, houses blowing up, out of the blue, fires starting. And a lot of times we don't know why, but after the investigations are done, for the most part, they're caused by these kinds of utilities and the extreme nature of the energy that they possess. And so I'm thinking on that end, and then I'm thinking about bringing people into that environment. It worries me. And Thea already answered the question that I was going to ask. Is there any other place, that we can make this work? So, and Fernando's right. No matter what happens, if there's an event, the city is going to be on the hook for it. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter what color it is, doesn't matter how many boxes you put around something, the city's going to be on the hook for this. And so, I'm not in a position where I want to just say no, shoot this down, because I support this concept. But I'm also of the opinion with Mr. Pastor that because the two groups and the department heads really haven't congregated to really discuss in detail what, I don't want to say what's acceptable or not, but what can be mitigated and become, what's potentially a real hazard to life, limb, property. What can we do to really just put some mitigation on that and say, okay, we're feeling a little better about this? So my recommendation is we let these teams get together, talk about this. I agree also that we do a trial period, but I think there still has to be some work before that trial period begins. I think there still has to be some dialogue. I just feel that because until today, nobody really of the two, and I don't want to pit anybody, but
We did do a, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Rios, we had 2 meetings with, on this, and we did a 1-hour walk with the, and the members of the utility. So we have discussed these and
Okay.
talked about these.
okay, good,
Okay.
good. Well, that's good to know.
Did you get into specific items or just generalized?
Just generalized, but I mean, you heard a lot of specifics tonight.
Yeah.
And knowing that if it is to be approved, these are the very things that will be on our list to make sure how the lighting is. Is it wired in properly? Is it solar? How is it hung? What are we going to do with the covering? I mean, we have our list ready to go of our concerns. Believe me, we know the concerns.
Okay.
So that's just where I'm at. I'm not at a point where I want to kill the project. I want to see it go forward, but I just still got to have a sense of our safety teams, safety department heads. If there's any other way that we can look at protecting these high energy facilities, because looking at some of those pictures, I saw a junction box for a utility, which is huge, and they don't make big junction boxes for small energy. They make big junction boxes for high energy. And so those are the kinds of things that worry me. Gas lines, same thing. So this is a tough one. For me, it really is. I want to see it happen, but as a councilman, it's my responsibility to look out for the best interests of this city as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Freddie. Mike, you have any comment?
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate the project, I really do. John, I appreciate your comments, Chief and Steve's. By all means, all of your comments and your concerns. I think I'm up for a trial period. Why not? I mean, we're all about economic development. I see tourism every day. And even like this week with the highway being shut down, I noticed a huge difference where I'm not getting the traffic. And so I know on a typical Friday and Saturday, 80% of my business is tourists. So I think that would be a magnet for tourism. I really do. So I think it was maybe a meeting. I didn't think of what you said, Mike. Would be a good idea. But I think this is a fantastic addition to the city. So I'm up for a trial period to see how it goes. As for the trash thing and everything, I don't want to see John's team stuck with that. Even if the trash guy goes and picks it up, whatever. Business owners, we could take care of that. They have enough headaches of their own that they don't need any more work. But like, I was talking to John, and I know he's talking about the trash out in the park right here out front. There's flies congregated all over that place, and they don't have the time. So I think, like I said, with myself picking up trash or taking it out to the street twice a week, what's 2 more bags or whatever, or every other day. So I would commit to that myself. I'm taking care of the trash. I'd like to see this go forward, but again, with a trial period. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, we tried. And then we can discuss it with them and make changes, whatever changes we'd have to make, or decline it and take it all out and move on to the next project. But why not give it a shot? 3 months is 3 months. So that's what I'm up for. And again, I'm not appreciating what you guys said, John and Chief. I understand what you're saying. But there's kids in the alley now. So what's the difference? I mean, I see kids every day riding their bikes through there, running through there and stuff like that. The kid's gonna fall and get hurt, they're gonna get hurt either way. So, and I know it will attract more children, but the kids are in there either way. So I just think it's great, again, for economic development too, because that's what we're focusing on now as well. Not that we're not focusing on safety or anything, but I think it's a good addition. I'll commit to take care of trash myself. So 3 months, so let's see what happens. That's all I have there.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I want to thank Thea for your presentation, and thank you for bringing us up to date as to the changes that you made within, with the proposal. I want to thank our staff too, John, Gary, and Steve, for your input, because that's what you're there for, to guide us and give us some direction and some information so we can make decisions by. This is, I think there were some good comments from council. I mean, Mariano hit it on the nose. You know, we're a mining community that's trying to transition into tourism. And this council, since we started, and I think even since we assigned or established an economic development department, that was our goal, is to promote economic development and promote and increase sales tax revenue to our community. And we aren't going to do it if we continue to do the same things we do every day, or we're afraid to do things or take chances and move forward with some new ideas. This is what it takes. I was on the Arizona Creative Community team for 2 years out of ASU, and we got to meet 13 different teams from all over Arizona. And there's the unique ideas that people bring forward is what attracts certain groups of people to your community. And we never know when that one idea or that one thing that we do in our community is going to blow up. And it's going to make us huge. Look at Cottonwood, wine. They don't even grow wine there. But look at what they've done with it. I mean, lots of Bisbee. If you look at other communities that have done this, you know, we have to be able to, I hate to say take chances, but we have to embrace new ideas. And I know there's some challenges, and John brought up a lot of them, you know, the metal covers, the sharp edges. I've never thought of that. The benches, the lighting, and John, and I'll have to say, I really want you to bring a proposal forward to this council when we do budgeting and give us a true number for staffing, because we always shortchange you in the budget process, not only with equipment, but staffing. And I think we need to start putting money in our public works, because if we start bringing new ideas and new projects to this city, you're the department that's going to have to take care of these things. So we as a council, that's our responsibility, to make sure that if things take off and there's more responsibility, like police and fire and public works, we need to make sure that we have the staffing to do that. I never would have thought about the dogs barking, but that could be an issue. That could be an issue, because I've heard them bark there too, just going to the silver belt and stuff like that. I think our risk pool needs to give us a recommendation, or at least an idea of what they think of this.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, just to clarify, our attorney and the risk pool are not going to give a approval or disapproval. They're going to do an assessment. They'd advise us probably to be cautious. But you know, we'll make sure we have the proper insurances in place. But if you ask a risk pool member or an attorney, they're going to say this is, this is a problem. This is a risk.
Yeah.
And
so,
again, I go back to, at what point do we not take that jump or take that we got to weigh it. You've got to weigh the risks and the benefits to it. You know, will this bring us additional revenue so we can hire different public staff personnel, you know, to be able to take care of it? If we're going to transition into, and we are there, I mean, look at our bed tax revenue. We see that already. We've seen the increase that we've seen, that people are coming here. But we got to be creative. We got to have new ideas. There's so many people out there, young and old, that have so many great ideas out there that we need to be able to see if we can embrace those and try and make them happen. You know, COVID is forcing us to do outside activities. And this is an opportune time to do some of that outside activities, you know, before we do the trial period. But I think we need to move forward with, God, we got so many potential here, and we can't limit ourselves because we have to put ourselves in a bubble. I don't know. I don't think we're doing the right thing for our residents if we're not afraid to embrace new ideas in our community. And that's all my comment.
And, go ahead. So we have some people like to speak to the item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a comment from Tracy Quick that was for the call to the public, but she chimes in on this item too, so I'll read Tracy's comment. Hi, Tracy Quick of the soon to reopen huddle here. I would love to see sand-filled butt cans distributed by the city throughout the downtown. I work to help keep I would gladly volunteer to help.
What was your I can't hear you.
Councilman Latham, I'm sorry.
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, Stacy is asking for downtown cans to contain cigarette butts, and she said that she would help keep them clean. Then Tracy also says, "What's not to love about the Alley Catway?" She said that she would weed eat. Well, those are Tracy's comments. She supports that project. Thank you. I do have a comment from Judy Quinn, and she supports the alley project that Thea is talking about, and it will work. Just give it a chance. And then I have one more comment from Miss Judy, I'm sorry, Ruth Meyer. She's been a resident of Globe for over 50 years. And she would like to add her voice in support of Thea and ask the council to approve the 3-month trial period. She believes this is a kind of project that will benefit local citizens, but will benefit local businesses by bringing more people to the downtown area and will be something to attract more tourists. It appears to me that this is a win-win situation for the city. Thank you for listening. Incidentally, I am a registered voter in the city, so I feel like I have a stake in this kind of issue. And that's Judy Meyer.
Sure does.
What district is she from?
What district is she in?
Now, you do have one speak card also. I have a Mary Testa.
She's gone.
Oh, she down at last us then, huh?
John.
Who?
John.
John, go ahead.
Mayor and council, just in closing on my part, I want to thank you taking this time for this discussion. Like I thanked you already previous, just going forward, even going into possibly a trial, to let, myself, my department's not known for try doing things halfway. If we're going to support this and vote in favor of this, then let us do it. Let's do it and address the problems per our meetings. And I'm not saying that it's been restricted from taking care of these issues. I just want to make sure that we go in there and we're 100%. And that's truly where a lot of this comes from. Yep. Those are always my first, and my staff as well. When they watch the meetings, I go over the meetings, and that's the questions that we'll discuss tomorrow. So thank you for that time.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Any more comments on there?
Mr. Mayor, just looking for,
Mayor, I would move that we approve a 3-month trial.
Somebody,
Oh, you have a speak card.
I'll second that.
wait a minute.
Hold on. We got another speak card. I'm sorry, Sherry Ray? Rice. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I should have put my glasses on, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Sherry Rice. I'm the deputy chair of HPAC. And I would just like to say, I was hoping I could speak after you voted, but it sounds like the consensus is it is going to happen. So when something comes before HPAC, we have a choice of recommending or not recommending a project. And what I'd like to see happen at this time, with your permission, is we have the same concerns as the fire, and we would have, and we would want those addressed. So I wonder if this time that we can just maybe defer to you, because we would have a lot. If it comes to HPAC, then we'll be going round in circles again. So, because of our concerns. And so I would just like to say this time, could we, if you are going to do this, can we just defer to the council as far as approving or disapproving it, and say, "Okay, this is what you choose to do," and we follow you, of course.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council, I would, it's a recommendation to approve or a recommendation not to. The staff absolutely will look at all the safety issues and bring stipulations as part of the special event permit. One of the requirements of special event permit is that we bring forward a recommendation from HPAC. And so on the narrow issue of the colors, and the feel, and does it blend, I believe this I would recommend that this does go through HPAC to make sure we are consistent in how we treat projects such as this. Other people have gone through HPAC in projects in the future. I checked with Dana right before this meeting, and he did say that this does require to go through HPAC based on how the code is written. But it wouldn't be, the onus wouldn't be on the safety issues. It would just be on those historical color and blend issues that you're responsible for. And then we would bring back a combined packet of stipulations and a recommendation, and put it into one packet and bring it back that way.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Jepson. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Sherry. Yeah, and yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully, we can expedite that and get to HPAC right away, so we can move this project forward, and then when time allows for our staff to get this moving on there.
I know
if it's
HPAC has been working with the arts and that the important thing will be to address the safety concerns, and if you approve this, we will return it for the final approval with HPAC and the safety stipulations.
Mr. Mayor, when Thea presented, it was a presentation, we told her that we would have an emergency meeting if necessary to address it.
Thank you, Sherry.
That would be great.
Great. So Mayor, I would move to approve the trial for 3 months after it's installed, and I will volunteer to also pick up trash.
And direct staff to develop stipulations and HPAC approval?
I assumed, yes.
Waive the rule.
Second.
We need to waive the rule? Yeah. Okay, I'd like to waive the rule to take action on that this evening.
A second?
Second.
Third?
No.
We have a motion and a second for approval of this project. Any further discussion? Ready?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question to Thea and the rest of the interested group here. Is 3 months, do you feel 3 months would be enough time for a trial period? I mean, is that a hard set time?
I have no idea if that's enough time.
Yeah.
That was what I thought would be palatable for people, is to say, let's see, it's a very time limited, but let's see if it works. I'm not sure. May I make a recommendation? So I kept waiting to be contacted or brought in because this is such a weird project. It's not an event. I thought I would be brought in to discuss and talk with city department heads, and I never was. There was a silence. And it's not a criticism, it's just that we'd never had something like this before. But if unique ideas like this start to come up, I really would encourage you to bring the applicant in to talk with the team, if possible. That would have been helpful.
You remember when we walked the alley together with all the utilities and met then?
That was not a walking of the alley as much as it was to me that I was brought to hear from the utilities that the answer was no. There wasn't room for discussion. So I made all those changes though based on that. So I'd love to talk more with city team and work on this with you. And to be actually honest, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to if it's working or not. And I'm willing to pull the plug on it. I want to see if it works. And I did go to HPAC first to try and get to them before it came to you, but they wanted to hear if you approved it before they would hear it. So it's just been confusing, but it's been a lot of hoops.
And that's where
Mr. Mayor.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, with it being a 3-month approval, if you started in December, you're gonna have December, January, February, which are pretty much not great weather months, so it may not be as beneficial to do it that 3 months rather than
Mr. Mayor, members of council.
March, April, May.
The way I see the 3-month approval, the clock will start ticking once all the approvals are done and once it's finished, and then open for business. And so from the time that you get it finished, the 3 months is not going to be ticking down as you're doing your work and we're getting this ready. So I think a 3-month open for business run is what I see. And I think that would be a good show. It's kind of been the number we've been throwing around. If it's 6 months and it dies in 2, do we want to let it languish? And if it's going really good in 3 months and then we can come back and it's be very easy to extend a successful project if that's how it turns out. But I like the idea of a 3-month check-in because that gives us an idea where it may be and a tweak. It's not a yes, it's not a no. It's like, okay, what do we need to what do we learn? What do we need to make better? What adjustments do we need to make? But just for sure, the clock wouldn't start until the project's open.
Ready.
And that was the reason for my question is 3 months going to be enough? Because, we do have seasonal weather. And, if the 3 months is during the time of period where we just don't have the visitors, then it may not really prove itself. So, just a thought.
Councilman Rios, I've been working on this for about a year. It started before the iArt Globe was launched. I know it's not going to be ready for Councilman Pastor by December. If we're meeting with HPAC, we're meeting with police, there's a lot of research that needs to happen. I need to figure out a solar specialist to answer your questions if the chief doesn't already know those per the fire code. So I don't think it'll be ready, to be honest. I think if we're lucky, it'll be our beautiful springtime.
That'd be the
So,
yeah.
And it potentially could coincide with Poppy Fest, and there's just so many things that could work. But I really personally don't see it happening that fast.
Good.
All right. That's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Any other question? Jesse, you have anything?
No, Mayor, I just was wanting clarification as to when the 3 months would start, but City Manager Paul clarified that already.
Thank you. And Thea, again, thank you for all your time and effort on this project and all the other projects. We can't get discouraged. We got to, if we feel there's a way of doing things, and we need to try and work a way, figure it out how we can make it happen.
I appreciate you considering this. I appreciate the graciousness of the city staff in having the appeal made. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to clarify something. When Thea came before us, it was not it was a presentation, not for consideration. And the reason we didn't vote on it is because we were told that it was still before the special events, and that had not been approved yet. And we thought it would be very premature for us to vote on something, which we couldn't anyway because of the agenda, but was waiting for the information from them. So that's why that was done.
Thank you, Chair. Any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion pass. Thank you.
It should have been a IR Globe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Item B, council will discuss, give direction, and possibly approve holding class number 1 of 2021 session of the City of Globe City Citizens Academy program scheduled to begin on October 13th, 2021.
And so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this is our rollout, and I just wanted to get formal direction from the council, as we've talked about this in a couple of venues. Citizens Academy is a chance for residents of the City of Globe to come in, go through 6 classes of 2 hours each night, meet with individual departments in a presentation, hands-on format, where they will not only learn about council manager form of government or fire trucks and turnout gear, but maybe climb the ladder and try on the turnout gear, see what kind of fun ways that the police have in doing their job, and both finance, economic development. I think it's a real good chance for residents to understand the challenges we face, the different rules that we have to abide by, the diversity within our types of activities, anywhere from finance to public works and police to fire, and hands-on, and have fun doing it. And so this is a chance for people to get involved in the city, and this is our pool of people who are understand the role of government in the future. When we need committee members and volunteers and things like that, they'll have a leg up because they'll understand the process and how council operates. Mr. Mayor, I know we're running out of time. Each of the programs, we are hoping the 2 key points. Registration is open. This is going to go out tomorrow on the web and Facebook, and contact Shelley Salazar we'll have a form ready by then to do the applications. If you, as members of council, have anybody you would like to see from your district take this, seek them out, people you've been in contact with, ask them. I think the 3 most important things: are you over 18? Do you live in the city? And are you have the time commitment to attend 6 nights? To graduate, you need to attend 5 out of 6 and attend 2 government meetings, one being a council meeting, and then come and celebrate at a future council meeting the graduation process. The second thing, I did want to make sure each meeting will have 1 council member as the host council member. The first meeting will be the mayor, talking about council manager form of government. Then we have finance and police. Mayor, I don't know if you want to take the time right now tonight to decide who would like to sponsor each of these events. Our plan had been to go in order by seniority to ask council which events they would like to participate in, or we can do that offline given the time. But if council kind of knows which one they would like to do, we would go seniority, which would be Vice Mayor, Councilman Rios, Councilman Shipley, Councilman Leatham, then Pastor, and then Gonzalez.
I think if they're aware of what they want to, sponsor, or do you want some time? Do we need some time to think about that?
I don't mind helping them.
Do you want one that you would want to sponsor then, Mike? You're first on the...
Yeah, I'll do PD.
Okay. And then Councilman Rios?
So PD and council form of government are taken.
So, yeah. And so economic development, finance, fire, and public works.
Economic development.
Okay, and so then the next would be Councilman Shipley, given your breadth of experience. You and Councilman Leatham are tied, but I had to come up with some reason to go with you.
Because I'm older.
Which one's
You're wise.
He said senior.
I think I could probably contribute to the finance discussion.
All right, and so then, Councilman Leatham?
Public Works.
Okay. Public Works. And then, Councilman Pastor, that would leave you, and we do have the graduation ceremonies also, or, it'd be fire department.
What do you want? Al? No, Mariano, what do you want?
We'll do graduation.
You want to do graduation? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to the fire department and climb on a fire engine with the folks.
Okay. And don't volunteer for anything, whatever you do.
No.
All right, and then, Councilman, Gonzalez will do the, graduation.
Yes.
And,
Can I
yes.
ask a couple suggestions? Because I've been through several leadership academies.
But
I've helped put some of them on. And one of the mistakes that they make is they'll invite someone to come talk about finance. And they kind of wing it. And then they don't know what to talk about. 15 minutes later, there's nothing to talk about. No one knows enough to ask a question. And we end up staring at each other for 45 minutes. And so when they come, they should have like a really good idea of what concepts they want them to leave with.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councilman Shipley, this is not a leadership academy. This is not about leadership. This is about educating residents about the challenges and the roles, the duties, the challenges, and kind of the uniqueness of city government as compared to other things. All the presenters will be in-house, and finance is going to be actually dual presentation of Jeannie and Jerry Barnes. Okay, so they're going to go through, just for finance, they'll do the budget process, where the revenues come, and how you do a budgeting process. They'll also do procurement, and then go into the audit process. There'll be some hands-on experience. We're going to actually get them head start on our future budget. On how to make some decisions. Those how do you figure that out?
So the former school teachers got this under control.
So and
Because I swear I've been to them, and then people show up. Oh yeah, we're the county, and we do lots of good stuff. And I'm like,
No,
okay, that's it.
I would say I would say that, and so this be all different locations. I think the first two, just because of the need for some technology, council manager form of government will be here at the city hall and finance, but the rest we're going to be out and about. We'll have a pre-meeting tour of the sewer plant. The police have lots of things they want to do. Might demonstrate felony stops. Maybe doing. I know, Vice Mayor, you've been involved in some of the fun. Yeah, whereas though if somebody wants to try to run away and non-lethal force,
tased all you want.
going up the ladder. So it's gonna be a lot of hands-on. I promise that we're our goal, and I've talked with staff about this already, is to make this interesting, exciting, not drill and kill, but to just give people a sampling of what our staff are the challenges faced, the restrictions faced, and the different types of things that we're involved with. And I can't imagine anything. I mean, there's a lot that we can show. I think that it try to keep it entertaining, not entertaining, but interesting.
And maybe the one will run for council after it.
Yeah. Well, that one, we could.
He's trying to get rid of us. He's recruiting.
Use some.
How many applicants we're going to allow?
So we are looking for 14 to 20. I think max. I don't think we do this over 20. What we would be happy with, every council member recruiting 2 people. You may get some other people that come forward on their own, and some may drop out. So we're looking between 14 and 20. But if we have 7 people, we're going forward.
What
So we kind of serve as hosts.
You're
meetings.
not going to have to
Okay.
do any presentation, but you probably have some interesting highlights and
Sure.
things that you can add to it.
So we almost like chair session. We'll welcome everybody and then
Yes,
introduce the
chair,
speakers.
do the
and then-
introductions. You can put some emphasis on things and put some real life examples of how this plays out from the council side. But each meeting will have a council host to represent council and to and kind of give the you know, the story, you know, and now the rest of the story.
Okay.
Type of
So basically, we would serve as moderators?
No, well, no, they'll have a presentation, introduction, and then kind of like moderators. If you want to be a moderator, it's hard to describe exactly where some council members will stay in gear with this. Some will sit back and watch and pull things out. I don't have a defined role other than doing the introductions and kind of a wrap up. A start and a finish, but in between, however much you want to insert yourself. The other question was, can one council member come to the other presentations? And I think that would be fine too, if you just want to sit in on one of the other presentations. But I don't want that council member to steal the thunder of the host council member.
So, yeah, but we have to watch open meeting law, so we can have.
Yeah, you'd have to get 3
Less-
additional.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't see that's gonna be a problem, but we would step in, we would make reference to that in the introductory one.
Okay.
Because open meeting law and some of the, how you get elected, our structure of government, the basics of council manager form of government, some of the restrictions, how we predate county and the state, you know, the city of Globe is older than the state of Arizona. And that brings us benefits. So.
What are the age requirements?
An adult, and there will be, and
18,
but being 18 and being a resident in the city. I think we may get people from the county area that want to come and participate, but this is restricted just for residents. And I think we may have a waiver, given some of the things that we're going to do. We'll probably have a waiver that if, you know, something happens and did you sign a waiver when you did the trial for the?
No.
No, absolutely.
Okay, well, you will have to. Okay.
You want us to recruit 2 people?
If you would like to,
I could come up with that.
yeah. But I'd like, and we really want the most energetic, exciting, and committed people. But if we get 20 people and we have to turn people away, we'll do it again. The plan is to do it twice a year. There's a little bit of load on staff, but I think it's time well spent. Staff's very excited. Staff loves to talk about what they do. They love to talk about their department. We love to talk about the good things we did. And you're going to get a chance to allow staff and the residents to understand how city government runs.
So where do they apply? Here?
We will have, if you want to give, Shelley, what's your cell phone number?
When do the applications go out?
The applications will be ready first thing tomorrow morning.
So tomorrow they can start.
Yes, and we'll be advertising, and I think it's your work cell. So what is your work cell? 928-200-8535, and just call Shelley and say, I'm interested in participating, and she'll make sure you get the form, make sure you qualify, and get everything lined up. Shelley's going to also line up all the classes, the sites, and everything, but there'll be food at each of the events, but that's up to the department to provide food. We do have a 5,000 budget. I don't think we need that much. We'll have T-shirts and framed graduation certificates. Caps and robes we won't do, but it'll be fun.
Do you have forms here?
Well, no, I don't have the forms. I'll have the forms in the morning. I have the rough form is in the package, but we haven't put it. I need to get it on the one page. Yeah. So the only thing I did not get to. Yeah. Then we can do that. We'll get them on the website. We'll get them in the email, and the structure of the form is in the packet, but I want to get it on a one pager.
Okay.
Okay. And no, I think people have fun and find out, and I think Sherry's going to apply. So, are you going to apply? Yeah. I figured so.
Tell them you're from District 2, okay?
Yeah. So, and, but we're, like I say, we're going to try to get as many people as we can handle. We hope to, to get everybody excited about this and make this happen. And we're looking for people who are just excited to learn more about the city.
Okay.
Sure.
And so I would like a motion second and a vote to move forward with this.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Citizens Academy.
Motion made. Second.
We have motion second for approval of the Citizens Academy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion passed. Item 5C, discussion and consideration to approve resolution number 1842 adopting addendum 2 to the June 29, 2021 Declaration of Emergency Flood Mitigation post-Mescal and telegraph fire, placing a stay on City Code Section 16-1-3, which limits a person's ability to occupy a motorhome, fifth wheel, or travel trailer parked in private property to allow temporary housing for flood victims and request to waive prior discussion rule, section 2-4-10. Now, this was brought to me by a resident of Globe. If the city would consider temporary housing within the city limits of Globe for living in a fifth wheel or RV while they're doing repairs on a house that was flooded out.
Mm-hmm.
And working, they would be living on property. We don't allow them to live on property right now.
Correct. Currently, if you have a residency, a residential property, you're not allowed to live out of the RV in the city of Globe. What we would do is lift that for people who are recovering from the flood and allow them to live on the property while they're repairing their home. The idea is that one property, one family. And so now whether the family lives in the home or the family and members of that live in the RV on site, you still have that one property, one family. And so I think we're safe there. And that would be as it's written, that would be who would be addressed. If you have property in the city of Globe and you have been damaged and need to work on that property and live out of your trailer to an RV to do that on your property, that would now be allowed for with a permit, so we can verify that, and it's for up to 6 months, if passed as is.
Okay, in the situation that was brought to me, and I guess this takes a zoning change, this individual's family lost 2 homes in Russell Gulch. So they were gonna redo the homes in Russell Gulch, move that family to a property that they own on the property in the city of Globe in a fifth wheel. So there would be 2 families on that property while they're repairing the homes that were destroyed in Russell Gulch.
Right, and I believe that we would need a stipulation from council to expand this to allow somebody who's recovering from a flood incident to live on somebody else's property. And so the scenario being that I have, and it could be even this, I have my home is damaged, I can't live in it, but I want to work in it, so I either put my RV on somebody else's property or I live out of my friend's RV while I do this work. But what that does is it puts 2 families on one property, and it is a tough situation for those neighbors. So all of a sudden, a neighborhood that is not interrupted by this now has a second family living in an RV next door or behind that person, and there may be additional activity, the additional noise, a couple more dogs on the site, and you're going to have more disruption of those neighbors if that one person allows, and so I don't know the dynamics, but I think that's something we need to think hard about if we're going to allow, and so we'll have to enforce this when somebody calls up and says, hey, this guy moved into this trailer in the back of this yard, and X, Y, Z are happening. Now, the alternative, I think, Mayor, we talked about is getting permission from the adjoining neighbors and behind before we would approve that permit, that the notification and awareness before we allow that permit, and somebody's dead set against it, what would council's pleasure be? Do you want to just say we're going to allow it for 6 months without checking with neighborhood? Do you want to say we'll have a requirement that we notify, or a requirement that we get a sign off of approval by the neighbors if they wanted to do that? I don't think there'd be there's not a lot of times it's going to apply, but I know that if we just have to be careful what we do.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I don't understand why we're trying to put stipulations on something like this. I mean, if people are hurting and they need to fix their homes and we need to let them fix their homes, why can't we just put a moratorium on it for 6 months? allow it for 6 months. After 6 months, as we've stated just recently, just earlier in the presentation, our departments are short-staffed. So now you're going to tell them they have to go and fill out a permit. And so if somebody calls, then you're going to have to send somebody out there to figure out, did you get this permit? Did you sign off on, did the neighbors all sign off on it? Are you actually one person living on the property? Or are you two families living on the property? Then it starts getting into too much compliance issues versus just saying, the city of Globe sees that there's an issue. You guys need to fix your homes. We understand that. We're trying to alleviate this. We do not want to put any more pressure on you to come to the city to have to get these papers signed whenever you're already trying to figure out where you're going to live. So for right now, we'll just put a moratorium, and I'm probably saying that wrong, on it for 6 months. After 6 months, that's when it stops. And then that's when we will then go out and say, okay, well, we did have this hiatus. If you need more time, go ahead and fill out this paper. And at that time, we reevaluate it. Or if council needs to reevaluate it again, then bring it back to us.
Well, I mean, this is the law of unintended consequences. Whatever we do, someone will be impacted, someone will have concerns, someone will contact city and ask, why is this person living here? Or why, so it's going to be a burden, and we're okay with that, with doing this. I'm concerned about city staff, but I'm also concerned about, disrupting neighborhoods that are not currently disrupted.
So we really don't have a lot of properties that I don't think were damaged in the city limits of Globe that that would be affected by that. The reason this was brought up to allow another family that was affected by the flood in the Russell Gulch area. That's the question that was brought to me. There wasn't a lot of homes that were damaged to this last flood. The motel and the lady behind AMPM, the family there. So is that allowable to allow somebody that was damaged in another location to live in the city limits?
And we could stipulate that it doesn't have to be the owner. Let me look at the resolution and.
So the owner's going to be on the property, and then this.
The family member will be on the property while they work on their home in Russell Gulch.
But the RV maybe put the person living in the RV, the way it's written, would have to live in the RV on the property that we're talking about. Now this would open up to allow that person who's dislocated because of floods living in an RV could live on any other property within the city of Globe.
Because it's going to be a rare occasion. I don't think there's very much, like I said, property damage in the city of Globe where they're going to be repairing a home. It's other places that have damage. So I don't know if the code allows that.
No, the code doesn't allow it, but you're going to make this exemption, and in the exemption we can allow that.
Then we would have to have a permit to make sure that they're complying with that, because then we'd have people taking advantage of it.
Yeah, you would
otherwise.
have people.
People open up mobile home parks.
Yeah.
On their big old lots.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm trying to do a quick edit here. But if you want to make that stipulation that we modify, I don't think we have to have the language, but pass this with a stipulation that we allow the dislocated person to live in an RV on any other resident within the city of Globe that is willing to take them.
I don't think it's going to be very many. That's a rare occasion.
And then no checking with the neighbors. We just
I don't think that would be a good idea.
No, we'll just surprise them.
Wait for the neighbor to call and complain.
And
explain it to them.
Explain the situation to them.
So what do we think on this one?
So is this something you're trying to get approved tonight?
We put on a waiver. I mean, it's only one resident that I know of. I don't know.
Well, but it could turn into more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because right now it's not allowed. So if they're doing it, they're sneaking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I have no problem with the motion and the stipulation. I think we can pull this together, modify it, and get it signed without.
And the other suggestion that I had, and I don't know if we can run this through the county with the state money, if they would pay for that fifth wheel of that RV being in an RV park while they're repairing it, and it makes more sense. You have sewer, water, electricity. Can they pay the monthly bill for residents in a RV park?
We can double check, but most of this, and the discussions we've had to this point, the only people who can do that type of a gift for direct benefit like that would be coming from a third party, like the Salvation Army, like the Red Cross, through donation money, federal money, city money because of gift clause, DEMA money because of their restrictions would not be allowed. And we get into federal money in a FEMA event that's over $10 million in damage has that ability, but we have not, thankfully, we have not hit that
$10
number.
million.
Mayor, I would be willing to make a motion that we approve this with the stipulation of 6 months, just for this purpose, and that they have to get the permit and do the whole thing.
And expand it to, you want to expand it?
Yeah, just as you wrote it.
Yeah,
basically.
expand it to allow them to live in an RV on any property in the city
Yeah.
if their property is damaged.
Second.
Motion a second. Oh, do we want to put the waive the rules on that one?
I think I did.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we have motion a second on item C, resolution 1842. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstaining? Motion passed. Thank you. 5D, council will discuss and possibly create 4 standing council subcommittees consisting of 3 members of council each to address issues related to public safety, infrastructure, financial sustainability, and quality of life.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, this arose out of the strategic action plan as to how best to track the activities. And we looked at having comparable council subcommittees of 3 people under the quorum so they could not be subject to open meeting law to hear those updates. At the same time, we tend to get a lot of requests from council during the meetings to have a special session or special meeting with council. The art committee to look at their bylaws, homelessness, to look at a new disaster plan. And instead of creating standalone committees with different schedules, different members, and everything like that, I thought we could take both of these items and merge them in the model of the benefits and the healthcare and benefits committee, which was very successful last year in bringing forward this recommendations on a very complex topic, which was approving the healthcare benefits. And we had met on a schedule throughout the year, and those were very productive, and council felt comfortable with the finding of the 3 had done offline. And so we would put this to morph all of that together. We would have a finance, which anything that was money related, committee, and we would hold that would be the landing point of the benefits and healthcare and benefits subcommittee. And so the members would be the mayor, Councilman Rios, Councilman Leatham, and then add the other 3, the quality of life, which would include economic development, public safety, and infrastructure. And so I can't remember if the issue was any issue that would come up was going to fit primarily under all 4 of these, one of the 4 of these. And so if there was an issue that council believed rose to the occasion to have additional council input, or they wanted to study or want to get more information about, instead of creating a committee, we would assign it to the agenda of these committees. These committees would sit down, and once they're created, we would look for 6 meetings per year every 2 months on the rotation, so they intertwine with staff, so we don't have 2 on the same week. And then so then if you're on one of the committees, you would know every 2 months I have this committee at this time, this place, this date. And I think we'd have attendance would be good. The agendas would rise and fall with what council puts on. I think we would knock down that backlog of requests that council has for some of the special action. I mean, we still have our special event committee that we haven't finished off yet. That would fall under quality of life.
Quality of life.
Yeah. And
So like the alley cat thing, we could put under that subcommittee instead of, you know,
Spending an
addressing
hour
it
on
here.
Yeah, and I
So
think this would
having
help.
mini work sessions
Mini-
on issues that come before
The
the
mini work
council.
sessions also when the full council wanted to be in, but this is even a little bit tighter. It's a not only it's a mini group of council
Yeah,
to hash out,
yeah.
get the details, and I think it would save time, shorten the meetings. And is it 9 o'clock yet?
It's past 9. You already blew that.
So now, and Mayor, I think you wanted to work off
Yeah.
line and do the
Yeah, we want, if everybody can think of these, we don't want a decision tonight. Obviously, we have the financial sustainability, that's one that we're doing with benefits, and we're going to continue that one, and that's myself, Freddie, and Jesse. But if you want to be on any of these, please think about it, and in the next week, let us know which one. We may have some overlaps, there may be a person on 2 committees, you know,
And just to be fair, Mayor, the priorities would go, because Mayor, you, Freddie and Jesse are already, then we would go with the priorities for Mike, for Fernando, for Mike and for
Okay.
Mariano, and if I got that right. And then they would get to pick, and then we go back, and once we have all 7 picked, we go back and go for the second round
Okay.
of who wanted to be in there. So trying to be fair.
okay.
Quality of life for me.
What's that?
I'll do quality of life.
Do public safety.
I want infrastructure.
Okay, so,
We'll need 3 in each one.
which?
Infrastructure.
And we don't need to make that, you know, that decision tonight, but if
Well, it
you're,
looks like we're doing good here.
yeah.
Yeah, public safety for me.
Public safety, Gonzalez.
Okay,
I said that before too.
What?
Public safety.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3 on each committee.
yeah, there's 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're back to
You have
Mayor.
3
Do you,
on your
you'd be
committee?
next.
You have 3 on your committee?
You can be the president.
The Mayor, do you have a?
Mariano.
We have You have
Public
2
safety?
on quality of life, 1 on public safety, and 1 on infrastructure.
I'll do
Or 2 on
I'll
infrastructure.
do public safety.
Okay,
So that'll close that one out, right?
all right. We can go with
You're
that.
out of public safety, Mayor.
Hmm?
You're off.
That's the one I wanted to try and, with the EOC,
Now, so if
EOP.
you want to, if
You
you
can
want to
sit in.
Councilman Pastor kind of jumped the gun,
Okay,
and so
anybody can have it. If
Okay.
somebody else wants it, you
Well,
can have it.
Al wanted it.
Al. Okay, so
Okay.
The mayor wanted it.
okay, so then
Well,
we
who's
go
Al?
back-
Oh, that's right, he's mayor, huh?
Yeah, we go back to vice mayor. So vice mayor,
Do you want
public
any other
safety
one?
and finance. We have quality.
We haven't
of
hit
life,
Rios.
Infrastructure.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm sitting here like, they haven't got my
I
name
did
yet.
public safety already.
Okay, yeah. So
Well,
you
you're
can
on
do
1 already. that's
quality of
why.
life for infrastructure.
The quality of life.
Okay. And then Freddie, we have quality of life for infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Oh, yeah, you knew that. So we still need 1 more on infrastructure and 1 more on quality.
I'll do the other infrastructure.
Okay.
Because you gotta be what, on 2?
No, well, we until we run out. We're not going to have. Not everybody's going to be on 2. And then that'd be. Okay.
Quality of life.
Then Jesse, you have the. Do you
Yeah.
want to take the empty spot on? The only one left is quality of life.
Right, that's where I'll be.
Good guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who's on public safety?
It would be
Mariano.
Me and
Mariano, Al, and Mike.
Stapleton.
Stapleton.
Okay,
Yes.
so good, I'm only on 1?
Yep.
That's all right.
I want to do that EOC. We need to look at
What's
that.
Yeah.
That emergency operations plan, we really need to look at it.
That could fall under public safety.
Yeah. Well, that was easy.
Okay, so, and then if you want to motion and waive the rule to create these, as, communicated with the makeup, then we can start with scheduling meetings.
Mr. Mayor, motion to waive the rule and approve the members selected on for the 4 committees that we are considering.
Second.
Motion and second for approval of the subcommittees. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Any abstaining? Motion pass. No action items? Late agenda items, anybody? Second call to the public? None?
Whoa.
Moving along. Scheduling of meetings?
Let's see, on the scheduling meetings, we are looking at, a possible work session on the 22nd? Wednesday, the 22nd, from noon to 1, to talk about ARPA, funding,
22nd of
September,
September?
yes,
12 to 1?
12 to 1.
And that's, what's the date again?
Wednesday, the 22nd?
22nd? And that's a work session, though.
Yes,
That's rescue money. Rescue funds, okay.
next week.
yep, and that's our, as we had promised in the presentation, we went to Biltmore,
And bring back suggestions of what they discussed. I think that'd be important.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of them that different people were doing.
12 to 1:30, right?
12 to 1,
Oh, 12 to 1?
yeah, I think, but if it goes over, anybody can leave,
And we'll provide lunch, right?
yes.
And then we wanted to schedule, move up to 2 meetings in December to keep
Yes.
it away from the last part. Is everybody okay with the first and third?
Mhm.
And-
Tuesday instead of the second and fourth? First and third.
Yeah.
First and third
Yeah, first
Tuesday.
and third Tuesdays, which not December 3rd or December 1st, but it'd be December 7th or the 20, and the 21st.
Oh, those are the new dates.
Those are the new dates.
For council meetings?
Yes.
That's just for that month?
Just that month, yeah.
Okay.
For
You're
December?
gonna send me a note, right? So I remember?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll get an email or something.
But it's good, it's in the rotation, it's still a 2-week cycle. And then just for discussion, we are, closing down through between Christmas and New Year's again.
Oh, we're going to take the week off?
We take the week off.
Great.
That keeps it away from that
That's one of
meeting.
the best things we've done.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
oh, that
keeps it
that
away
is
from
so
that
appreciated
meeting.
by staff, and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
budgeted that
Oh,
way.
yes, that's good.
So, yeah. Yes.
I don't want to hear about no parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
Christmas.
but all, and just for the record, all department parties will be allowed, but there will be no central event for Christmas. The event for the thing that council is doing for all staff, rather than a party or any type of get together or gifts or anything like that, is to give them that week off between Christmas and New Year's,
Right.
and is highly apprecited.
Paid time off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
paid time off.
We get it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
the best things.
Future agenda items? We have any?
I do have a question.
okay, what's
I don't
that?
know if it's under future agenda items. I don't think it is, but Halloween, has anybody heard if we're
So the city
doing that?
we are meeting with Molly, a joint meeting of COVID team and the special event committee on Thursday to see where everybody's at and see what the actual proposal is. Molly submitted, like in March, all of the special events where it's their application, and then we partner with them. So I want to see if she's going to modify her submission, and then we'll evaluate that. And then see where we are, and then just to save time, we'll have the COVID team there. And I mean, there's concerns because of Delta and the unvaccinated, and the primary unvaccinated are children.
Yeah,
And this is an event that features children,
we have to be
and
careful with
so
that.
there's some hurdles there. And so we're coming in with a blank slate to kind of think how we can do this and make it safe, but not lose the event, because they're going to be somewhere.
Look
I've
at,
been having constituents ask, so
Yeah, no, and it's on our radar, and we do have that scheduled for.
you might want to look at doing it in the daytime, early,
We're also looking at a drive-by,
or drive-by.
and anything we have might be, so it's Halloween is on Sunday, which makes it a little bit different. But still COVID, is the,
still out there on Sundays.
what's that?
Still out there on Sundays.
Yeah.
Yes, COVID doesn't take a day off.
Early afternoon too.
But I don't get me started.
Okay, we got,
Doesn't go-
do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Motion made.
Motion and a second to go into E-session. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thanks for sticking it out. Sorry.